Hey everyone, it's me, Waldo 2413. Live, haven't been on live in a while, so been busy, sick and all that stuff, so I'm back. Hopefully, we get some people here, since it's been a while, so hopefully I will see this little icon in the corner up here for me that shows me people, because right now we got the big goose egg, so... Just so everyone knows, we have some more content coming out. Filmed a bunch of stuff and just slowly been editing it. Some of the stuff, like the other week, some of it's actually older stuff. So we're just editing it and dumping it out as we get a chance to. But what's up, Texas Finest? How's it going? I gave my code to my friend. Well, that was nice of you, Texas Finest, Frankie. Great. That was nice to hear that. Hey, what's up, Impossible? How's it going? What you can do, Frankie, is you can enter that code under your account just as long as it doesn't show that you've used any codes before, Frankie, and they will let you. Because I messaged him when you said that before about you doing that. So how's the DTF treating you, Impossible? I seen you put it together and seen you've been printing with that 1430 or working on it. Is it still running good? Are you getting good white consistency? I sure hope you are. I know white ink can be the trickiest on DTFs to keep them running smooth. I hope everyone is having a great weekend also. I know the weather's here is pretty nice. We're not super hot, but we've got through all the rain and we've got some nicer weather, so can't really complain. That 1430 won't recognize my ink cartridges, so I had to convert the XP 15000. Have you tried getting some more ink cartridges, Impossible? I mean, I know you don't want to spend the money on them, but maybe if you got some other ones, or like the resettable chips. I know I'm using a resettable chip on my my Epson 1430 that I use for my black ink for my screen printing. We still use that, and I just use a resettable chip, so I don't even have to take them out. Frankie says I need 15x4 transfers, but I don't think they sell some unless you go DTF or gang sheet. Yeah, Frankie, if you only need 15, you're better off on it. But on the price of that, is it one color, Frankie, you're needing? How many colors are you needing on them transfers? Impossible says I left it on, and I think it did a firmware update. Yeah, that's the problem on the firmware update. Like, I have them on my network, but I never update just because it seems like I always run into issues on updates on software. Like the stuff, like a good example, this print or the computer I built, I can put it in the back port, but my front port will not read my SD cards, but it reads every other card. So it's kind of weird. I need about more than 20 transfers. Your best bet, Frankie, might be to do the full color one just for the price that they have and use that discount. Or just buy the 2-color and buy more of the transfers that you need and just put them up, because you can always use them later. So, because the thing with more transfers, it's better to have more and not need them, and just being able to take them off the shelf when you need them than not have them and not be able to use them. So is the XP 15,000, is that working good for you, Impossible? DTFs are fun. I've got some new videos coming out of other uses with them. Like, I'm sure everyone remembers, like I said, I've done DTFs on coasters and all that stuff. Like, there's the DTF on a coaster. So you get the white ink also. Yeah, Frankie, do the gang sheet then. That might be your best bet for you. Impossible says, I have a question. I press a black print on a black shirt, and with the white, it comes out gray. Press the blank. Press a black print. So when you're printing that, are you printing white behind that? And then they are so cheap for me. Yeah, that's the thing. DTF is like the price, man. It's hard to beat on everything that you use. Yeah, you might just use the gang sheet, Frankie, to get that done. I've never had an issue with my black turning gray on a black shirt. So, other words, your white is turning gray, or the black ink is turning gray? So, other words, you're getting like dye migration in the white, correct? What ink are you using also, Impossible? Because some inks I have noticed, like I get a different ink now than I used to get, and I buy a huge box of it. But the old white I used to get, I would get slight dye migration. The new stuff, which like the shirt I've got on here, and all these other, like the shirt here and all that. This is a tri-blend shirt that everyone sees in that video. And the white is white as can be. And I printed on a bunch of stuff. Yeah, see, I've never used his ink just because I know he's getting it from China. And I usually buy, even before I switched over to the one I'm using now, I've tried every China company. I don't get my ink from China. I do get it overseas. It's not from China. And that was the issue, because one thing, like, and I don't know his ink, so I don't want to say anything bad about it. I do know he said you don't have to shake up his white ink. It stays in solution or saturation without separating out. That is a very good thing. The downside, though, is some inks, like my white ink, like I've got an auto agitator on my machine, so I don't have to shake my white ink up at all. It just automatically circulates the white ink, agitates it. But all my other inks, when I put them in the bottle, I shake them up a little bit, but I just dump them in. My white ink, if like the stuff I've got on the shelf, when I go grab a new bottle, I have to shake that stuff for about 2 to 3 minutes, because you can actually look in there and see the solid level where it's settled down, because it's sitting on the shelf for like maybe a month or so. So if I don't shake that when I dump it in, I'm just getting the top part. I'm not getting the titanium stuff in it. But when I shake it and then put it in there, like I said, the machine does the automatic agitation on it, and it comes out great. And like I said, I don't get any dye migration. I mean, here's some white. Now the other thing, are you seeing the migration when you're curing it? Like, are you running it through like a dryer or the convection oven when you're doing it? Because I know that's what a lot of people are using, the convection oven. That works good, especially on small orders and all that stuff. But on your time, we'll see. I will say this, impossible. The one video I seen recently that you had, normally when my white goes down, until it's cured. Like you can see the color through it, but a good example, like this right here, this word right here, this is actually black. And this is just an old print I've had laying here. So like I noticed when I seen your prints, I could see a lot of the color when it was doing the printer. So you might want to try increasing your white. What percentage are you using? I'm sure you're using what is it? It's Accurate or whatever, or the one that everyone uses. Because, like for instance, on mine, I've got my colors at right around 70 or 80% on my colors, and my white's like 110%. I've sat and messed around with my white. 10.5. Yeah, and you might want to try to increase the white then, because I found out like the ink cost, even when I buy ink, white ink, no matter what, costs a little bit more than the colored ink. And I put white over everything, even on the black, just because the inks I use, it tends to work better that way. But like in this one, I didn't go white, but I went a little bit less. And you can see the color, but I don't get dye migration through it. But I have found for the little bit extra white ink that I use, I find it worth it that I get that kind of that nice bright white. Even like I said, that's a tri-blend shirt, so it's got poly, rayon, and cotton. Yeah, now if you tried 100%, because I was gonna say now everyone's 100% can vary a little bit. Cut it back little by little. Like, okay, so if 100% is pooling and you're getting runs, try it at 90 and then step down until you see where it's not puddling. And the best way to do that, instead of like I know you don't want to waste a whole sheet doing a print and then it not come out correct. So the best way is literally just print, let's say like a 1-inch strip or something. Like I've got a test print that I do. It's got all the colors on it. And it's only like about 1 inch wide. And so you make it the width of your paper. And then all you do is trim that paper off there. So you only use 1 inch every time until you get the percentages right. And what you can do also, you can print that, put the percentage next to it, and then like cure it and then press it on the shirt so you know which one's which, so that you eventually see which one works the best. And like I said, you're going to keep reloading the paper and just lie to it on the paper size. And because it's going to run it through from the beginning to the end. So even if it's only like, let's say 13, and then you keep cutting 1 inch off of it, and it ends up being like 13 by 8 or whatever, the printer, it'll pull the paper and spit it out, but the printer is not going to understand the difference. Like I got a roll printer, so mine will I just print it the distance and I trim it off. But I know you're using the sheets, so that's the way. So you're not wasting the sheet of paper every time. And you're not wasting ink, because ink's not like, in the big scheme of things, ink's not that bad on these things, but you don't want to print a big thing and then have that whole white running. The other thing that helps mine a little bit though, like I've got pre and post heaters, because mine's got heaters on my printer. So that does help pull out the moisture. If I shut my front heater off and I run something, my white will run. If I have my heater on, it comes out perfect. And then literally I just go right through there through the conveyor dryer or through my auto shaker. If I'm doing it manually, I'll cut them off right there and then shake them manually and then put them through the dryer. But I would try doing a little bit like the 1 inch paper at a time. And like I said, and you don't even got to use the whole width. I mean, but you're printing the width of that no matter what. You're going to have to cut it. So do whatever you want on there, or do your logo, something across there. So once you find it works good, you can put that as a test sample. Because another thing, I've gotten some other videos coming up, like, and it's more stuff that it just, what will they print on? And like I said, I've done the coasters, as you've seen. So like it will stick to coasters. But what I also done too is like, you can print them on boxes also. So like if you're shipping stuff and you don't want to spend the money on custom boxes, and let's say you're using a 13 by 19 sheet and you do something 1 inch tall, then you can print 13 of them, or 19 because it's that tall. So depending what width and all that, but you could do stuff kind of like something like this, heat press this onto the box when you ship it. And like, because a good thing, like something like this on a, which tumblers I won't use, but on the outside of a box, but like literally you can heat press them on. So now you've got custom boxes for, especially if you have your printer. Like if you don't have a heat press or a DTF printer, these aren't the best way to go. But if you have a DTF, as you know, impossible. Like something like this is dirt cheap. You're talking like, especially this size on a 13 by 19, you're looking like 5 cents. So like to slap that on the box, now you're coming out with a custom box. And it looks nice. Like I said, the other thing too, is you can take like a big box and literally like lay it flat, of course, heat press on there, peel it off, and it's going to stick. And now you've got kind of more marketing without spending that extra budget. Because if you go buy boxes and have them custom printed, unless you're buying thousands of them, you're going to spend a lot of money. You're going to be spending almost $1 a box. So if you buy the unmarked box and just press your own on, you're saving a huge amount of money. And like I said, like the more as you get used to it, like, because you can get a roll for your printer, that 15,000. So the more you get the media cheaper, the cheaper it becomes. Like I'm printing a 13 by 19, less than 20 cents. And that's the whole area if I covered it with the roll paper, which I mean, I'm printing 20 something inches wide, but there's a time, and that's where things too, like when some people are like, well, you charge so much. And it's not that I'm greedy, but it's one of the things too. Let's say something took 3 minutes to run. Well, you've got to factor the time of that. You got to factor in the maintenance and all the stuff. Like there's ink that I literally throw bottles of ink out a month because where it gets cycled through the cleaning process, and that ink goes through the print head and all that. You can't reuse it. So you end up scrapping literally the bottle of ink about once a month as you're running stuff. The more you run, the more ink you go through, just because it's doing more head cleans. So you do have disposable goods and all that. Yeah, and it does all add up. So like I always tell people, because people will watch the video and they're like, well, you're charging me this much for a transfer when you said you're only paying this much to make it. And the thing is if you look at anyone online, they're all charging that much or more for transfers. So it's not that I'm price gouging. I'm actually lower than a lot of them, but you get people that are always out there because they hear how cheap it's done. And like, you know how it is impossible. Like if you even convert one yourself, you have the issue kind of like your 1430 did. You get it set up and then the inks don't recognize the print thing. So now you've got that money tied up in there. So if you want to fix it, now you got to buy more print cartridges, and it all adds up because you have the price of the printer, the price of the ink, the price of the print cartridges, and it keeps adding up. And that's where some people don't look at it that way. Like my one printer, I mean, over $10,000 in a printer, it's got to pay. It's got to pay for itself. So people don't understand the cost of some of these things and the time it takes to perfect and make sure you're testing it. Yeah. And that's the thing too. Like literally I've had that printer almost 2 years now, and I didn't start selling till this year, pretty much earlier this year, because literally to get the kind of like what you're going through right now. And it was on one of the things, what color percent are you using? I'm using about 70% of my color. I'm not in front of that computer, but I'm using about 70% of my colors. And then the white I'm using higher. But the big thing is like what people don't understand. It's like all the dialing in, all the testing to get it consistent where you're happy with it, that you can put that product out there. Because it's like a little thing like this. I mean, these are simple. It's one of my logos, but and it's white. So it's like these, and this is one of the things I was saying, super cheap to print. I mean, this is on that, it's like 6 inches by 2. You get 6 prints on that. So you could use left sleeve, back sleeve, hat sleeves. You could take and throw these on hat prints all day long, and you've got like little to nothing. And that would go on there. So they are super cheap, but like the testing to get things right, like I said, even on this is one that I don't use. We redid it and we changed the colors a little bit and changed the ink amount. And it's not bad. Like the color is not, the white's enough where it looks fine on most shirts. And this normally goes on a green shirt anyways. So it doesn't really matter. But even on a black, it looked fine. But literally to get it dialed into where I liked it, I had to put more white ink down. And that's one of the things, like getting everything where it's consistent and you're happy with the results. It can take time. And not everyone kind of understands the effort that goes into it. And then the other thing too, it can be running perfect. And then you run out of ink. So now you got to refill it. There's so many little things that go into it that people don't see on the back end, that when you have one of these printers, you see it right away. And then the other thing too, you got to run printers every day or every other day. Like if you don't, the heads will clog. Once I get it dialed in, I will be looking at getting a bigger machine. Yeah. And that's what, like, for instance, Ronnie, she messaged me the other day about pricing and all that, because she's got one or two of the large Epsons. She got one from McLeod, and then she converted her own. And she was asking because, like, the speed of like the one I've got is like 2 to 3 times quicker than hers. It's actually probably more than that. And like she was saying too, like no one's running 1800 by 1800 or 1430, whatever you want to call it. Everyone's fine. They're running 1400, but like the DPI in screen printing, you're not even going that high of resolution. I have been running it every day. Yeah, and that's the thing, you got to run it every day. But like the big thing is like, even like 720, like it comes out fine, because if you think about it, when you're screen printing and you're doing the dots per inch, and you can, let's say, hold even 60 dots per inch, that's a great print. And you're doing 300 DPI on files that you get input to you that you normally work with. And you're not even outputting at 300 DPI, but like you're doing halftones and that looks great. And then even large format printers, like, I mean, I've done banners at that lower resolution and they come out fine. So to say, hey, you need to run these, like I've seen Ernest say that on there, and he's like, oh, you got to run them super high, the quality. There's no need to do that. The time it takes to run that and the quality that you see isn't worth it. Like you don't need to run that high of resolution. Get it to where you're content. Because the other thing too, it just takes that much more time. You can adjust the ink and all that. But like, and that's the thing too, on some of them, he's like, oh, you're dumping more ink. Well, you can adjust the ink output. Like mine are fairly thin. I've got them thin enough where I'm content with the feel of everything and how they hold up in the feel. The print house has got one or two of the shirts I sent him. He said he loves it. He said a lot of it you can barely feel. And he actually bought them. So it wasn't like he was doing a biased review trying to help me. He actually paid for the shirts. It was for a fundraiser that we were doing. And so if someone like him was content with them, it shows you that they weren't being biased and all that. Like I said, and they were content with the feel. And he was kind of shocked. A lot of people say, oh, they feel like this or that. And they don't really know until they get them in their hands and feel them. And like I said, and start wearing it, washing it. Because when you wash them, it seems like they get softer and they're more malleable. And they tend to fit and feel better. The prints, like especially the larger ones, like that big one that you seen a minute ago. So like I said, a lot of it's just running it. But like I was saying too, like where Ronnie, she's running into an issue because she needs a dryer or a shaker. And she doesn't have one, so she's doing them all by hand. But she had a question too about like pricing and all that. And the big thing too is like when you get a customer that calls you about an order, she was trying to, like the one photo she sent, it was front, back, left, and right sleeve. Well, the thing is, depending, and like one of it was only like maybe 3 inches tall. So you could fit it, like if you're doing, like say a 13 by 19 size, you could gang them all on that sheet, no problem at all, and do that. The biggest thing with that was she was pressing them all after, and she was pressing almost for a minute. So that's 4 minutes on a shirt. And then you got a secondary press. So that's 8 minutes on a shirt, where like I do 15 seconds and that's it. But that's the big thing too, is like her big thing was is the time that it was taking and then how to quote. And then her printer, where it was taking forever to run. I was like, you've got to factor all that in, because if I've got a printer that can run twice as fast as yours, let's say, and we're comparing, it's not apples to apples. I mean, we both got printers, but it's kind of like taking a manual screen printer and an auto and saying, hey, do they both price the same? And in an auto, you can knock 600 shirts out an hour, not even breaking a sweat. Manually, you ain't going to do that. And if you do, you're not going to make it past 15 minutes without laying on the floor moving that quick. Especially, and if you could, you're only knocking one color out. So the big thing I always tell people too is price to what your equipment is, not to what the market is. Because there are people like in every area that needs, for instance, funeral shirts. They are going to pay whatever the market's going for in your area. And 99% of the time, if they're coming to you anyways, they've got a small window where they need them within a day or two. And so if you're willing to do that, you can charge $15-20 for them shirts. And even if it's, let's say, a one color, you can get that where if you're in another, let's say they have a week long to decide because they're not funeral shirts, they're going to price shop. When you have something where it's an emergency like that, people don't price shop. If they've worked with you before, they're going to pay that price and they're going to be content. Do I sell DTFs to the public? Yes and no, Frankie. I do. We're kind of backed up somewhat, so it's not on my website right now, but I do print and sell them to people. It's just something we haven't put on the website. We started to, I think I had it up for 2 days, and then we had so much issues that we pulled it down off of there. We have printed and we still print for the people. Yeah, the feel on my first print felt like plastic. Yeah, and that's the thing too, Impossible, is when you first do it, the print doesn't feel good. Once you slowly get it dialed in, slowly get the settings and all that, you get a better feel. And like I said, the big thing too, and you might have to reach out to Big Boy on that, is usually people with the inks, they can kind of give you a better understanding of what percentage to do with their inks. Like my vendors are overseas vendors, so they don't really help me. It's just trial and error. But I have seen a lot of people like Ronnie, for instance. She knows her ink's pretty good. She just doesn't like the price here. So she's asking if I would sell ink. I might sell ink, but I'm undecided just because I usually only import so much at a time for me. And ink is something you can have on the shelf a little while. But it's something I don't know if I want to try to have that much on hand. And I got a lot for me that I go through, but the big thing is if I get more orders and I'm kind of stuck deciding, do I sell the ink to somebody or do I use it to fill my orders? Because I still get it. Even when it gets shipped to me, it's coming in the boat. I'm not getting it air freighted in. So I get it the cheapest way possible. But right now it's 2 months plus on some of this. So it's hard to plan out that far ahead, where if I'm doing it for myself, it's a little bit easier. My DTF that I have ordered with orders with so much detail, it feels like paper. Depends on where you're going, Frankie, too. Or plastic, he says, feels like plastic. Yeah, but the thing too, like if you look at, which I don't have one sitting here, but I went through some of my shirts on go to Walmart and look at all the shirts that they have on their shelves. And look at ones that are actually plastisol printed, because there are some that are water-based prints. Like when St. Patrick's Day was there, they had a lot of water-based prints where it was translucent. But look at that, or go to a good example. Grab the shirt that Goon Life sent out to everyone that I shipped out for people, everyone that got them. And I know you got one, Frankie, because I shipped it. Or he shipped them, he said. But look at one of them shirts, feel that ink. That's plastisol ink, so it has a plastic feel, and it's going to have a heavier feel. And so, a lot of these people are saying, well, it feels not good, it doesn't bend. There are ways to do it, like I said, on this print right here. This thing feels so soft. It's not funny, because what it is, too, is it's a distress print. So it's not... you can't even hear it. You hear the shirt fabric more than you do the wrinkling of the print. because it's not one solid print. Now, if this was solid, it would have a more hand feel. What's up, the print house? Wash hands. Stop by to say hello. Good to have you, the print house. Did you get that router up and running? I seen you. I know I watched the last video where you put it on. Are you been cutting with it yet? But like, that's a good example. Impossible. It's like I said, you can ask the print house. Like, he's got one of the shirts, and once it's washed and all that, the feels, even like, and he's got one of the more solid prints I've done. They feel softer too once you wash them. It doesn't really feel. Still machining the mounts. Okay. Yeah. See, I do keep up. The print house. You also had your other one where you're changing your the waste ink thing on it, the BN20. So if you guys want to see stuff about BN20 and all that, check out the print house. Also, if you guys aren't subscribed to Impossible Co., go check him out. He's got some videos on converting. On the one video, it was a 1430, and he's printing with it, but he's got his other one. Yeah, and like I said, the big thing to Impossible is the feeling, like, and that comes to the inks also somewhat. Each ink is different. Like, I've had some of the ink that I didn't like the feel of. And the same, you get the powder. Like, I don't use the black powder where a lot of people ask. I've tried it. I use like the medium style, pretty much your standard powder. I don't go with the super, super fine, and I don't go with the very thick, but mine doesn't really stick to the transfers. I don't really have an issue. All in all, it just holds up and works good. So I don't have really major any issues with it. That's what I've been running with, though. But like I said, everyone does have their own preference on that. And like I said, I mean, the print house is, yeah. And like I said, like the black, everyone's like, oh, it's got a good idea for the black shirts. The problem is it only works on black shirts. But I never had an issue with printing on the black shirts where I'm getting dye migration. If I am, that's something wrong with the ink. Like I said, that's some of the issues you're having, where the white's not thick enough. Because like on that tri-blend that you've seen, that's polyester in that thing too. And then I've done a video, if you guys remember, on that polyester neon jersey, that thing's dye migration city. Like, anything you put on that, you get horrible dye migration. And that thing hasn't had any problems at all. So the big thing is getting the density right, so that you don't have the dye migration, and that tends to fix it. You need to make it where it's gonna breathe in order to just feel like plastic. I have to try get new powder. Yeah, and like I said, there's so many variables in it that it makes it different. Like, a good thing too, to when you're asking about the feel, Frankie, if you feel each of the different prints that came with TKO, each print had a different feel, and they were all done differently. One was screen print transfers. The other one, well, two of them they're both done the same ways. They were just different inks and all that. And each of them had a slightly different feel. And so that's the big thing too, is to find a feel that you like, find a thickness that you like. Because even with DTFs, there's going to be a like and dislike. Like, some people are going to be like, hey, I don't like that. Like the big print that I have where it looks like the state of Kentucky, that one I have, that one, a lot of people don't like. When they feel it at first, like, they don't care for it. But if you were to screen print that, it's still going to be the same way, because it's the state flag. So it's Pantone colors, it's solid spots, or it's spot color. So it's not like gradients. So you can't really half tone it because it's just solid white. But that shirt, when you wash it and all that, to me, it feels great, and it breathes good enough. That, like you said too, Frankie, halftones work great. Like on photo stuff, if you can halftone something, this is the best way to do it. And there's RIP softwares out there. I use actually a RIP software that I've paid for that plugs into my Photoshop, and it lets me halftone all the images. It it makes it night and day difference. The downside though is when you're doing like spot color, something like this, you can't really half tone it, because if you do, now you've got the color of the shirt coming through on there where you need it. Now I could put that, let's say, on a green shirt and delete the green. And that is an option. You just got to go with that color green kind of. But what I found on some things like that, you just deal with it, because even if this was a screen print, like if I was screen printing this on a shirt, it would be done the same way. You're going to have hand feel on it if it's screen printed. The only way you're not is if it was water-based or discharged. But even then, like white water-based does have feel. So it's not as bad as any other ink, but they all have slight feel. But on that in general, most people print, probably 80 to 90% of the industry print plastisol ink. So on that, it would be plastisol. So you're going to have that feeling no matter what. I like the feeling of plastisol. Yeah, and if you like that, Frankie, some of the transfers feel perfectly fine. Some people too, though, they're used to seeing these other transfers. Or the biggest thing is when you get one of these transfers and put them on a shirt, when you fold it the first time, it does have a little rougher texture feel to it. Once that shirt is washed, though, all that goes away. The feeling feels better. It's the initial, what I call the initial setup or the initial wash on them, the break-in. But I've got that stuff washed close to 100 times on some of these shirts, and literally they still hold up. They're not even coming off. They will outlast the life of a shirt that you're going to keep and wear. So it's the same life expectancy of a screen printed shirt. The difference, though, the white ink does not crack. White ink and plastisol over time, everyone knows that's printed for a long time. You always get a plastisol shirt with white ink where you get cracking in it. And that's why people create the vintage look, because white ink over time does crack. So like the only stuff that don't is water-based, but water-based is a whole nother thing. The cost, because you got to leave it in this. You can't leave it in the screen. So it's a one and done. If you put activators in it and all that stuff, you're limited on what you can do with water-based. You got to keep moistures on it. I've printed water-based. We do if people request it. We upcharge on that because just all the time, the setup and all that. Plastisol, we can shut down in the evening and leave that in there, come back in the next morning and fire up the press and keep running it. Where water-based, I can't come back the next. Like I could brown bag it, and maybe I'll get lucky and it not seize up in the screen, but there's a good possibility it's going to seize. I used the Ryonet powder that they use for the plastisol transfers. It works, but I don't like the feel. Yeah, and that's the thing too. I will say this, Impossible. I have got probably 3 or 4 different kinds of powders. I've got the kind that my rep suggested when I bought my printer. I got the kind that my ink supplier suggested that I get the ink from. That's the kind I'm using right now. I also have plastisol powder that I've used for doing plastisol transfers. And then I also have the transfers that is more like the super color, the TKO, where they're the hybrid technology where you screen print white ink or plastisol ink or water-based ink or plastisol ink for the white backing on them. And then it's printed, like I said, through a laser or another process, but you put the white ink down. I have that powder, which that came with the system also, that was it DST that they make. And everyone has their, like the powder looks and kind of feels similar, but I have tried different ones on each one and you will get different results. You can use the other ones, but I found the best result, like for me right now anyways, is the powder that my ink supplier suggested with their powder. Works the best so far. And then, like I said, and I do got sample stuff like the black powder and all that stuff that I bought. Didn't care for it. I even got McLeod's powder. I got like literally every kind he had at one time. The hot peel and all that stuff. And my biggest thing that I still use cold peel setup. Some people like the hot peel. but performance wise and how it holds up, I get better luck with the cold peel. So I wouldn't say I'm old school on that part, but now on a transfer, like if I'm buying a transfer, I want a hot peel. But on the DTF, I like the cold peel. It does, you got that few extra seconds, because technically either way, even if you're doing a hot peel and you're repressing it, the time that you're setting it down and then peeling the other, like when you watch some of the videos, normally I just put them in a stack, peel them, and then go back and press it. So you're really not taking that much more time up. But it just seems like it holds better. The cold peels do. It holds better, bites into the shirt better results. I don't have any lifting issues that you would have with some of these other transfers. So it works good. So I stick with that. Like I said, a lot of people, they are slowly going over to the hot peel. And like I said, it's one of them things. The other thing too, if you're just selling transfers, it really, on that, it shouldn't matter to you because you're not pressing them yourself. Now, the customer might want one or the other, but if you're just selling transfers, to you at the end of the day, it's not mattering. You're not pressing it. But like some of these people where they're pressing 1,000 transfers, or like where I was using that thing where Ronnie's did 4 locations on that shirt, and she was doing a minute, she was using cold peel. That might be more helpful with the hot peel per se. But when you got to do 4 locations on that shirt's going to cool down before you flip all the locations anyways. So if you press them and then left it, I mean, there's multiple ways to do that. But like I said, I don't see an advantage of the hot peel. The hot peels I've tried, I've had slight issues with them. And like I said, it's just personal choice on that. I do like the cold peel better. Originally, I was like hot peel, like the hot press when you're doing vinyl. I like that better, and I thought I would like it in the DTF. But I actually like this cold peel better. It works, when it sticks. You don't have the issue. So it's kind of a win-win to me, I think. But like I said, I'm not sitting there trying to press 1,000 shirts in an hour to say, hey, I need a hot peel. But like I said, I do like the cold peel better. I do like the powder that I'm using. You can, like I said, you can use the other powders. There is no issue with that. You'll find out, though, that some powders work better than others as you're doing this. And like I said, and it's kind of one of them things, once you find something, it's fine to experiment with others, but kind of note what worked good for you, because you'll probably go back to it, and that'll probably be your to-go-to stuff, and that's something you're going to stick with. Like I said, that's what I end up doing. Like I said, I've tried a bunch of stuff. You guys seen the video where I unboxed the McLeod stuff, and like I said, I used this stuff once. I didn't care for it. I'm not saying it's junk. It's just everyone's buying stuff from overseas, so it's just finding the rep that you kind of like. The downside is they're buying it in bulk, or even like me, like I'm buying my ink in bulk, my powders in bulk, everything in bulk, my rolls of paper. I've got 20 or 30 rolls of paper, 20 inches wide, sitting around here. So I'm buying more than, let's say, someone that's buying like a 13 by 19, they might buy 50 sheets. So I have even tried both, but notice hot peel films sometimes don't stick, so I have to do cold peel. Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. There's little things like that where the hot peel, it just doesn't stick. There's little things that I have noticed about the hot peel that to me I just don't care for. And it's one of them things. Some people do have good luck with it. I don't. So it's not that I haven't tried it. But like the film, I like the film I'm using. And that's one of the things, like I said, I know the nice thing too is like when you've used it enough, you know the settings, you know everything about it. Like when I've tried other paper or other film, I've got to readjust all my ink deposit amounts, because like some of it I get runs when I would try some of the others, like the ink would just pour off. So I would cut back kind of and work it into what I would find would work. And then some of it I didn't even like the color output that I was getting, just because I'd have to do it a certain way where I might be down to, let's say, 50% on the ink, but it made it look more pastel colors because I couldn't get, when I would do more ink on the color part, it seemed like it was more runny and it wouldn't stick well. So, I mean, and like I said, it's trial and error. You can, once you get it dialed in, and that's like where you're working on it right now, Impossible. Most people, once you get something dialed in on this, when you're doing this a bunch, even the people that are doing the big orders and all that for people online, like that one company, I can't think of the name. They do a 22 by 40 inch sheet for, I think, $20 or something like that, $30. But once you get it dialed in, most of these people stick to the same vendor, same thing. That's like the powder. Like the only advantage of buying overseas, you've got to buy in bulk to make it cheap. What they're doing, like all your McLeods and everyone else, they're buying in bulk to make it cheap. There are some places that are supposed to be doing the in United States ink. It's until I see it or try it. I mean, because my ink I don't have a problem with, so I'm not really worried where my ink comes from as long as I know it works the same every time. The same thing with my paper. Almost 100% of the paper comes overseas. So now some of these people might be getting rolls, cutting them down. It's kind of like the sublimation paper market. Everyone private labels it as their own brand, and it's all being made in factories over in China, and there's 3 major factories that does a lot of it. There are other ones, but there's pretty much 3 major ones. So everyone's getting the paper from one of the 3 major ones, and it's just putting their own name on it. Each paper, though, does have different things. Like some will release more sublimation ink than others, and that's its characteristics. The other ones, they don't release as much, but they're designed for like different medias. So just because the ink didn't sublimate all the ink off the paper doesn't mean it's a bad paper. It's got different characteristics. Like when you use Sub-A paper, they've got like 3 or 4 lines of paper or in their brands. And what they do, each of them are different, and it says that on a thing. It's like literally one says it will retain 90 or release 90% of the ink. The other one's only like a 70% release, but it's designed for different substrates. The ink I get in Possible, it's a vendor over in it's one of the islands, that's all I can really say. But because I don't like, I gave out a lot of my other stuff. Some of my other things like that I don't want to give out just because it took forever to get that. I have sent my print company information out where to get the printer. The other thing too, though, they won't sell like small amounts. You've got to buy. I buy gallons of ink at a time. Like there's a box somewhere in here of just old ink or the bottles of it, and it's literally one of them boxes over there is filled with it. It's the 1 liter bottles that you see. I buy literally 20, 30 of them in every color. How long did you wait to powder your film? My powdering, I've got an automatic powderer, so once it comes out of the printer, it goes through my conveyor. A lot of people that are doing, but now you got to remember too, I've got a heater on my exit on my printer, so I'm heating it that print up, so I'm getting a lot of the moisture out of it, letting it more or less evaporate. Where some people like that are using like the converted printers, you don't have a heater on there. So a lot of people are letting the paper sit and letting the ink come out. So that's another trial and error thing. The other thing too, though, even if let's say I'm not using let's say I got an order just for 1 print, or like a good example, like when I was testing these, literally I didn't run these through the auto because my auto shaker and powderer, it's about 6 to 10 feet of material because it comes off, it goes down, it comes back up, it goes over the conveyor. And then it's got the heater on top of it, and then it goes through a take-up reel. So you're using a lot of material if you're only printing 1 of these, because now you could backfill it, but it's a lot of work to do that. So like if I'm only doing 1 or 2 of these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to print it, let it finish the print cycle so it's long enough, and then I'm going to cut the paper, and then I normally take it to powder. You can get the glycerin, which this one, let me see if I can see it. One of these prints here has glycerin. And the glycerin is where the ink is coming through the paper. But what happens when you press, you can get that. It will come out fine. A lot of people that do that will notice it. You can press it. You can do other things. Like you can see an image around here, but on the front, you can feel it where this has been rolled up. There is, if you see the color splatter around, let me see if you can see it better. Yeah. See on the top here, this is where the oils came out. Like I pushed where I had a stack of them together. This print will print perfectly fine. And this one is a few months old. This was stuff, I know this is at least 6-7 months old. If I print it, I won't have any issues. There is no oils on the front of the film, but sometimes you will get oils that are like trapped underneath it. You can press them right out, but that is a thing too. Like that all comes to the curing. A lot of people let their print sit and evaporate some of the inks. When you've got a automated system, that's normally timed into the whole system of like the powder, where the powder's at, how much it's getting at that time. You can, like I said, I have done them manually, and I've done literally used even the toaster oven, tested it out with that. Toaster oven temps and times can be very finicky, so I don't like doing it. If you can hover on your press because a lot of clamshell presses, they come down at an angle. You don't have the hover feature where some do. There's a lot of little things like that. The other thing a lot of people you can take them to conveyor dryers. Like if you've got a screen print conveyor dryer, you can run them through conveyor dryer. Slow it down, because the biggest thing is you don't want to heat it too quick. If you do, it will change the color like dramatically, and the color will come through. And if you've got black ink on it will look like mold on the backside. When you heat it too quick, then you had an issue. Even on my auto conveyor system, if I turn it up too hot, I'll have that issue. And even that, like my vendor gives me a set window. I tried it and had to tweak it. It didn't work perfect, but just like anything, you got to kind of tweak it to what on even the prints and all that. They give you a ballpark to get you in the window where you can print and use them. To get it dialed in, it's you putting the effort, you putting the time in. So that's the thing where if you convert a printer, you don't know the window. So unless someone can help you, you've got a broader learning curve. But even then, like I set a learning curve on my dryer to figure out what's the right amount, what's too much, what's not enough. I crisp them in the toaster oven. Yeah, and toaster ovens work great. The biggest thing, like I've told people, I said, like when I've used mine, like originally I used to have it at 3 something. I've got it turned down almost like to 2 something, and I'm doing like 2.5 minutes, something like that. Because if I go quicker, it doesn't, I get it. It sounds like it burns it. So I had to dial it down. If my heat was hotter too, where I had it, because the height is going to determine if you're using a toaster oven or convection oven, you're using the top elements are on or the bottom, and how high you've got it to the top or the bottom. There's so many variables in that. So, but once you find it and you get it working for you, it works perfect. Yeah, I used the heat gun and it looked good, but after a day, it looked like mold. Yeah, and that's the thing. Heat guns is the only thing that I would say, and you can cure them with it. It takes a lot of skill to get them to come out good, because you're going to get hot spots in it, and then you're going to get it where it looks kind of like the mold, what I call it. And it's like I've pressed them, they still press, but you do run into issues like that. So I've always told people it's a learning curve on some of that if you're using like the toaster oven. And it's not that I have used it. I have used every method possible. I've used the heat gun. Because like the big thing, if I'm only pressing one, or like for instance tonight, I'm gonna go and create an artwork later tonight for a birthday party tomorrow. I've got other videos on another birthday party I did for my nephew. I've got 2 nephews, and we created some custom shirts. This is another one, but this isn't for my nephew. But so literally, I'm going to go create the artwork tonight, get the approval tonight, and then I'm only printing the one front print for them. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it by hand. I'm going to run the printer, powder it by hand, and I'll either use the dryer. If I've got any other shirts that needs to be ran through, and I'm going to press them myself, or I'll probably use a convection oven. With the heat gun, it looks wet on some spots. Yeah, and that's the thing too. The heat gun, you'll get what I call kind of looks like hot and cold spots. Like you do want it to gel. And when they different gelling, like let me see if I can find some good examples here on these ones. They all, like this, it has a slight shiny, not really wet, but it's got somewhat of a wet look. This one has what I would call more, but when I have noticed what you're saying exactly, when I've used the heat gun, I don't have any here that I did a heat gun with because most of them I pitched out. But like the heat gun, you get what I would call spots in it, and it's like you said, it looks like it's really wet, and some of it can be wet, and some of it's like it's almost you overcooked it, and when you overcook them, they don't want to stick good. And here's like another print that's sitting here. This one was done through the auto part, but where we were talking about like the spots on the front, this is when I was dialing in my dryer, and you can see out here. Let me see if I can get it to focus. Look, come on, focus. See on the blue, them dots that are in that print, and even on the red, there you go. It's showing it perfect right there. Them dots right there, when I press it, they won't show at all. It's just where it was. It had some of the, what a lot of it's people call like the glycerin that's in the ink. Some of them, depending on how old the print, like this print's been laying there forever, so it's pulled moisture and evaporated. The Star has it also. There's a perfect example. When it presses, that will not show. And like I said, that will come right out, but people see it. And then like you might see a spot on the Star or whatever right there. That will clean right off. And after the first wash, you won't even see it. But you do have that initial, and like I said, that print's almost a year and a half, 2 years old. That was one of the first prints I ever did. I did a roll of them things, and I was dialing the printer in. And we still print that logo, but we do a different color. This was even when I was doing my color management, getting my colors correct. Because as you see, this is red, and the lights don't do it justice. But on the screen, it looks orange. But it was supposed to be a little bit darker red. So now we printed like where you've seen it before, where I was telling about it. And this is a good example. This print, I never even powdered. Like this was never powdered. It was just a color sheet so that I could get the colors how I wanted them. And like I said, it's no ink. But what it is I printed this because using the normal red that you would use is that orange color. So what I did is found it like on the color red that I like, it's usually like 187. But like I said, it's got a bunch of colors on here. So, and then I've got the sheet, like I've got this on my computer anyway. So I look and I'm just more or less looking at the chart, and I'll be like, okay, I like this color right here. Third row down, fourth one over. And like the numbers are super small. But once you find which one you like, I just look at my normal screen, click that dot on my screen, and I create my own color profile with it. There are ways to do color profiling and all that. I don't do that. I use stuff like this to get my colors that I like on there. Because the other thing that I run into also is that when you print these, you are printing CMYK. And a lot of people will send you photos and all that in RGB. And when they do that, the RGB, it's when you convert it over, the colors change. Like the royal blue that everyone likes in RGB is not royal blue. It is literally navy blue when you convert it over to CMYK. And so the big thing is getting the colors to kind of be where they need to be on the print gambit. And so literally making something like that, you can at least see where the colors look where that you want, especially on the reds and purples and blues. So you can hand pick the colors so that matches. Because like I said, that was the biggest thing. I did that one logo and I'm like, oh man, because we've screen printed that. We screen print this all the time on shirts. And I was like, hey, it'd be nice to have some of these so that I don't have to have a stack of shirts in random sizes. And I was like, this takes up no space at all. So what it was is I was like, let me see if I can get the colors. And by using that chart, I can match the color inks that I'm using to get it really close to what it would be screen printed. Without that, and I used my normal screen print colors that I had on there, the screen, not even close. So that's another little tip impossible is use something like a color chart. Once you print a color chart so that you can kind of match for the customer to get it closer. You're never going to get perfect matching colors, but you can get it normally where most people are content. But that was the other thing too that I ran into at the beginning is because I would get people send me the artwork and the colors weren't even close to what they wanted. Some of it was because the RGB issue. Other ones were the colors that I'm getting, like if I'm using a Pantone color book, these colors don't match the official Pantone books. So I print that, and you can look in the book, and it might give you a different Pantone color. But the nice thing is when you look at that paper, and let's say you wanted this color green or yellow, I can go on my photo that I printed this on, click it, or I can look over on that paper and match that yellow up. And now I know what to make it on my screen so that I know it works. Because what happens is, like, if I went to print, like a good example, this Freddy Krueger one, which this is not printed that way. This is just like the reds would not be, that flame wouldn't look as good as it did on this compared to if I printed it with that, which I've printed these, if you remember, and it took time to dial in. Like it might come out like this one, which this is a light press. But so what would happen is I wanted my shirt to look like this, but it came out looking like this. And so it's dialing in the colors that you want so that you go from this to this. And the same thing with the colors on there. It does take tweaking, which the biggest thing for you right now is to get the printing down pat. Once you get the printer to print for you, then kind of work your way up. The next step, get the colors how you want them. Because like I said, you'll get people that will send you stuff, like a good example, something like with all these colors. And you'll want it to kind of come out as close as you can. But the first thing I would do is focus on literally the simple stuff. And that's getting the printer to print and getting the no dye migration. And like I said, I don't know Big Boy, but I'm sure if you reach out to him, he might be able to have some input on what percentages to use. I know he prints with this stuff, so he should have some good numbers to start with. And like I said, because even if, like, for instance, if I sold ink, I can't really give people 100% input on what, like, I can tell them what percentage I'm using, but that's on my big printer. That's got auto ink circulation. It does a lot of things. I'm doing 8. I think I've got it 8 passes right now. I can go low as 4 up to 16 passes. I'm running about an 8 pass on it right now, so I'm doing 8 passes on a color. So it's one of them things, like that printer's not set up like my 1430 printer. So for me, if I sold ink, it's going to be a little bit harder for me without having a 1430 to know the settings. Big Boy has worked on his printers and some other printers and helped people. So he should be able to get kind of in the ballpark and help you be able to tweak the colors. Like I said, the big thing will be getting it. I'm doing a lot of testing. Yeah. And that's the thing too, though, is, and that's what I did too. Cause like when I would be done with China for the night and then I would get up the next morning and work on it, China wasn't in there till later the next night. So literally I would run stuff nonstop and be like, okay, I don't like this. I like that. I don't like this. But the nice thing, if a company's done the testing on it, they can kind of get you more closer to what you need to be. Because the hardest thing with DTF is getting the white to be white enough and the prints to look how you want them to. And then, because most people too, they're using single head printers. I've got a dual head printer, so I run into the thing of alignment. I've got 2 print heads that I had to calibrate so that they line up. That's a whole nother story, a whole nother ball game. And then I'm doing bi-directional printing, so I'm printing both ways. I can, and the nice thing, if I wanted to print one direction only, I can set my printer up. It's going to print slower, but I can have it print one direction, or I can have it print both directions. I can have it do a lot of things. For the fastest printing, I'm using bi-direction, and like I said, I'm using both the heads. But the downside is there's a lot of setup that goes into that to make sure that the white is just to the edge so that you don't get no bleed around the outside. And like I said, you can choke the white ink. That's what a lot of people do. And I seen you do a choke on yours when you're printing the one. You had the choke the white, look like 1 or 2 pixels. And that's a good practice. I do that on all my stuff, is choke the white ink. When you're running multiple heads, it's a lot more. You had to line it up first, though. And like I said, the downside, when people ask me too, like I was explaining to Ronnie the other day, the downside about buying from China is the printer, you have to set up everything. They send you the print head separately. I don't have the box anymore. I used to have the box down there. I had to install the print heads. I had to do, and that they walk you through it, but I had to calibrate my own print head. I had to calibrate. Now they're telling you what to do, but I literally had to look at the lines, and then when you'd print, you'd have to do a test print and see where the white needed to go. So that, was I getting too much white forward? Was I getting too much white back? Was I getting too much white left? Was I getting too much ink right? The print head too, even though they're the attachments pre in there, the print head can shift a little bit. So then you have to adjust for that. And that, all that's in the settings, but you have to go through and manually do that. So the headaches on that can take forever, because like you'll get it perfect and you'll get it printing unidirectional and you're like, oh, it's awesome. And then you hit that bi-directional button and it's 3 inches left or 3 inches right, because then you got to recalibrate bi-directional printing. And so you're having to adjust it on the back way and on the front way. The nice thing, what you can do, or what I did, is I can tell it which way to print. So I can tell it to print left to right or right to left. And so when I'm doing that, I can set it up. So I line the one up, then I line the other one up. So when you hit the bi-directional, you don't have to tweak it as much. But you do run into a lot of what I would call time-consuming setting a dual head printer up. The upside is the speed of a dual head printer. Like I said, I do a 13 by 19 in about 2 minutes, give or take. And then one video, like I've got the official time on it when I printed them. And so like your speeds are pretty quick compared to a single pass, single directional. Someone that's printing higher DPI and all that stuff. So like I said, they both got their, they both got pluses and minuses. And like I said, it's just a learning curve, finding what's the best way for you, what's the best setup. And then what happens too, it's like a lot of people say too, it's like a tattoo, they're addictive. It's like the printing. Once you get your small one dialed in, because like I've had direct to garment machines. Some of my earliest videos 15 years ago that I posted on here was direct to garment machines. I've had them. And the biggest thing was like I've had multiple ones. Like I've had probably 10 or 15 total in my career. And so you're buying it and then you're like, oh, I want the next one. I've made some direct to garment machines. I've converted them. And so it was one of the things you're always looking like, hey, is it worth this? I've had commercial ones, and you're always looking like, hey, what's the best way to get the most bang for buck? Because back then, and they're still using it, a lot of them were using a 1400 print heads in the 1430, 1480s, or 1490s. They were all using the same thing that kind of is done now. And it's just on the conveyor system. So you're literally like, you get the one, you get it dialed in. You're like, oh man, I want to get it faster. Or I want more white channels. Like, cause back then it was like a single print head, 6 channels. Then you had like an 8-channel print head. So like you slowly increase because this one will be quicker. And your goal was always to get faster. Like I said, when I first started, I was lucky to get 15 shirts an hour out, and I thought we were doing good on the DTGs. And like I said, that was 15 years ago. They were super slow. They're still not, even now. I mean, direct to garment and all that. A smaller printer, you're locked into them speeds. But like back then, like you thought you're doing something. Now the downside, that was a single, like on a white T-shirt. When you'd have to do 2 passes, I was lucky to knock out 7 shirts an hour at best. If it was on a black shirt and you had to do a white underbase, so you were really like locked into how much you had to charge for things back then because of time. Nowadays, like you can do the white over top, which back then you couldn't, just because it had to let it kind of cure or so it wouldn't puddle up and mess up. So like I said, the technology has changed, but you always want another, like once you get that running and you start getting orders, you'll be like, man, I need this. Cause like I said, Ronnie, when I talked to her, she's got a large format. And when she got it, she's like, hey, I made the step to this. And she's progressed. Like I said, now she's got 2 and she's looking at her 3rd one. Because what happens, you start getting more and more orders. Like the job that she had the other day when I was talking to her was a 100 shirt order. And normally something like that, depending how you set your printer up and all that, like mine, I could print that in 2 hours or less, depending. And the size they were, I probably could have knocked them out in an hour. But what she ended up taking, it took literally a day just to get them printed and pressed, just because the printers, you can only print them so quick. She was hand powdering them. There's a lot of things that you don't take into consideration until you're actually setting it up doing it. And that's one of the things is, and like I said, and most people too, you don't usually start out and get 100 shirt orders. And it was 2 or 3 locations also, that thing was. So, hey, what's up, Jimmy? How's it going? Yeah, I do screen printing for that. Yeah, and that's the thing too, Impossible, is, well, she doesn't have screen printing, so she's locked into it. But that's what I was telling her too. And I said her other option might have been just to order literally, because some of like the left sleeve or right sleeve was a 1-color print. So I was like, hey, order from TKO, a 15-cent transfer, put both of them on there and just make it look like it's one artwork so you can do the right and left sleeve. It's going good. I'm glad to hear that, Jimmy. And like I said, that's the thing where I tell people too, is like sometimes even if you have DTF, it might not be the best way to do it. Now the front print was a full color print, so she needed to use the DTF, and there's really not much. I mean, she didn't have a way to screen print it, and even then, depending on what the order is, I can see an advantage of the DTF if you have a fast enough printer. But if you don't, you're locked in. Like I said, kind of, she had no choice. So, and I mean, she priced it good. And then like the other one she sent the other day, it was 3 prints. Now or four locations. The other ones were just sleeves. It was like a flag on each sleeve and all that, or a flag and then a logo. And it was like a white print. So like on that, and I was telling her, I said, hey, what's up, Oscar? How's it going? And on that, I would have went definitely with screen printing. If she didn't have screen printing, 15-cent transfer, just for the simple fact you can fit them on your direct to garment or direct to film machine. And like me, I wouldn't mind it because the speed's the same. But for her, that speed was a lot more time taking up printing them than it was worth just buying a 15-cent transfer. So like I said, some things you've got to factor in is what's the best means. Like if you're only, a good example, I probably wouldn't print loads of these. What happened with this is I had other stuff I was printed these on the side. But in general, I would have just screen printed these because it's little to no time at all. But, and if you've got, like the other thing too, a good example, on like a desktop printer, a lot of times it's only going to go over to the edge of the print and then done. On large format, it goes all the way left, all the way right, no matter what. Even if you're only printing on the first inch, it doesn't go in, it goes all the way across. So if it's doing that, you might as well fill the real estate up is kind of the way I look at it. The DTF I'm using to do like flea markets, you pick a design and I press it on the spot. I made a lot of money, but I wanted to cut the middleman out and do it myself. Yeah. And that's another thing possible. If you're doing something like that, where literally like I have an online store that we do that. I buy a lot of artwork, and it's artwork that I can print. So it's not like I'm buying knockoff artwork, but literally what I've done is, and even on some of my clothing lines I've got now, and then we do fulfillment for people too. So like I'll have some of these already made. And so what it is that is one of the best ways about it, because if you were buying transfers and let's say you're setting up at like a flea market, the downside is if you buy, let's say, even a transfer, a full color transfer, and you're setting up at a flea market, you've got all that cost because you can't just buy one full color print. Even if you buy from stalls where they've got pre-made transfers that you can buy, like the basic stuff, like palm trees and all that stuff, even if you buy one of them, you still got $1 in a transfer. So if you can DTF it yourself or DTF it yourself, you're saving a lot more money. And like I said, the other advantage too is you can stack these up, put them in a big pile, put them in a Ziploc bag with a desiccant pack to keep the moisture out, take them with you. And literally when someone comes up, because the biggest thing is, and we do this when I'm doing the fulfillment for these people. Before, when I would print for the people that we would print for where they have online stores, like the Jeep site that you see, what it is I would originally have to have my screen print setting there, and I'd either screen print it when that order came in because it was a one color print. Hey, Jesse Gibson, how's it going? Or what I would do is I would have a single color transfer sitting there and I'd have to go press it. And then before that, literally they would buy so many of each size. And so what I would do is literally we agreed to print them and we would just ship them out as they needed them. So I would have, let's say 10 larges, 10 mediums, and 2 extra large or something like that on the shelf. And it would already have their logo on it. What ended up happening is they were finding out that they were getting stuck with smalls or mediums that no one was wearing, and they were ordering them. So then they're like, hey, is there other ways to do it? And that's where doing the more pretty much print on demand method comes in, because now all I do is have to have a box of shirts like the Kentucky Strong ones that I did, or the Bowling Green Strong for the tornado victims. Literally, I have, and I've showed you guys, I've got transfers everywhere of these Kentucky Bowling Green Strong ones. And literally, because what it was is we offered them on 3 or 4 different color shirts. So if someone ordered, let's say, a blue shirt or a red shirt, we were able to put that transfer on it and print it. Where if I pre-printed them, I'm stuck with all the shirts. So what I would do is literally when an order comes in, and a good example, like I said, is the print house bought one. And so literally what we did is we pulled the transfer, we pulled the shirt, we pressed it, bagged it, and sent it right out. And so the advantage of that is we've got, the only thing we're out was transfers. And even on that, all I did was print enough so that I would have maybe 5 of each design on my shelf. That was it, because when we used them, I just printed more. So I always make sure I had an inventory, because kind of like if you're doing a flea market, you'd have to have inventory. But the nice thing is let's say you only know you're going to use, like let's say you know your weekly sales. So you sell roughly, let's say 10 shirts a week at the flea market. And I'm just picking this number out. So you know that if you have, let's say, 10 of each design, that's going to cover you that whole time. Once you keep good records, you can look and say, okay, hey, we sell, let's say, 2 Mountain Dew shirts and 1 Monster shirt every week. So now you know the quantity. So you might eventually get it down to where you only need to, let's say, take 3 or 4 extra transfers, so that you're not even stuck making extra that you don't need right away. Or you could say, hey, we're printing all 10 of them Monsters, energy drinks, whatever. So you're going to want to take extras of them. But the nice thing is you're not stuck with, or the worst, the upside too is you take, let's say, 1 transfer of a new design. And so if someone buys it, now you got to wait. They got to wait till next week to get it. But you're not out no money then. So now you're only out the one transfer. Where before you might be out 4 or 5 transfers. Yep, it's cheap just to have the transfers and the blank shirts. Yeah, and that's the thing, impossible, because the biggest thing I ran into also on a lot of these things is shirt size. You will have someone that needs, let's say, a 3 or a 4X, and if you pre-make them, you might have printed that with like dandelions or something like that, and the guy needed the shirt. So by just taking the shirts and printing the transfers, you're out nothing. I can always sell blank shirts for my other customers who place screen print orders. Yeah, and that's the perfect example is that a lot of people don't look at it that way, but the biggest thing is like I use shirts, I print shirts. So it doesn't matter to me to have a few extra shirts sitting there that now I can pull from and not have to worry about what they're for. Because the other thing too, at the end of the day, like when we bought the stuff for the Bowling Green Strong stuff, we bought your standard color. That's all we printed. So we printed gray, black, blue, and red. And so literally we got stuck with some of the others, and the site's still up. But so if no one buys, let's say, any more shirts on that site, I can use them shirts for something else. And so that's the nice thing. If you print them, you can't. If you just have blanks laying around, you can use blanks for a lot of things. And so that's the nice little thing about it is if you don't mind putting the little money up and having the shirts there, now all you're doing is pulling blanks out and pressing it. And then, like I said, even on the transfers, it's not bad. Like if you're worried at the beginning, print one transfer. What I do too is like you can Photoshop it where it looks like the shirt's there. Make you a book of all your different shirts you have or all the designs. You can either just have the design in there. You could even put the film in there with the white backing behind it so they could see, or a black backing, whatever you want. Or you could simulate it and print it where it looks like it's on the shirt, and then put like 2 on each page. Have a flip book so they can look through it, kind of like a photo album. They pick the number. You just pull the transfer, press it, and you're good to go. You have your transfers in a pile. You have them numbered. So they want number 1 on a black large shirt. You just grab the black large, number 3, and press it. You're good to go. And that is honestly the best way to do it. And then, like I said, the nice thing too, you add more designs in the book. You just put another page in there. The other thing, let's say you discontinue it. You either print another page with that one not on there, or you just exit out and say you don't have that one at this time. And like I said, it's a great way because the other thing too, you can come up with a new design and be like, hey, this is going to be the next big hit. Just make 1 or 2 transfers, make a simulation of the shirt and see if people like it. Because what will happen, you might be like, that was an awesome shirt and people like it and buy it. Or you might create it and be like, I liked it. And this is what happens with me. Like, I'll be like, I like that idea or I like that design. And no one else does. So what happens, now you're stuck with one of them designs where if you created it and just did one mock-up, then you're kind of like a good example. The peacock, St. Peter's peacocks. This is like a quick mock-up to simulate. You got to let the peacocks fly, St. Peter's, when they were in the basketball thing. You can make a one design, simulate it, make it look real, and now you've got that done. So if someone, let's say, buys it, now you just print it, you already printed it, or you can already have one test ready to go, but you're not out with 400 shirts sitting on the shelf. And like this is another one. This was actually one that Graphics Warehouse did, where he was posting a bunch. And he's a good example, guys, of using the computer software to generate mock-ups. And he did this one. It says, USA, don't mess with us. We have heavy-duty sanctions. And it was a simulated like he just made it look like that. So if someone orders it, he's ready to go and he prints it. And it was something like where I seen on his page. And so that's one of the things is, like I said, it's simple stuff. So if you have it ready to go, you can create 100 ideas and no one might ever buy that. And you're not out nothing by creating the mock-up. You're just out your own time. But the nice thing is once you find something you like or something that sells good, then like I said, then you print more, have them ready to go. But that is one of the best things. So like I said, I do that with a lot of mine. We've got loads and loads. Like I'll buy bundles off online that people that create artwork. And so you've got a lot of stuff that you can just more or less pick from or create. Like the big thing too, like the Let's Go brand and stuff. Like when you have that, people, they've got a nice selection from it so they can look and see. Because like what ends up happening too, here's one. This is a shirt that I actually printed. This is for Relay for Life. We print a lot for them. This was a Star Wars themed one. May the Cure be with you. Relay a New Hope. And every year the Relay for Life in this area creates a new design I print. But like the nice thing too is you can simulate, or you can make one mock-up instead of screen printing it, just so they got an idea what it's going to look like instead of wasting the money putting it in it and they not like it. And if you guys go back, that was one of the, like I actually covered that shirt in one of my old videos. I actually made that shirt in the video, screen printed it manually. But that's the nice thing about doing the, I'm trying to think who this one was. I don't even know. I've got so many different ones in my phone that we've did for people. Or a good example. This was a design that a customer sent me. I actually designed this artwork, but we went with a few different color schemes to see what would work good or what they liked. And then we ended up printing it on the shirt. Then we ended up like changing it up because they wanted a different look. So it was a lot easier. But the nice thing that I did also is, I think they're right here. Yeah. So what I did, and this is some old ones. But so what I did is I've got them printed here. And so in case I need more, and like I've got the flag because it had a sleeve print. So we just printed some and now they're just sitting here. And so all I have to do is if they need it, like the flag comes off and you print the flag by itself. But all I do is go press it on the shirt and it's good to go. And because what it was is the easiest thing to do is to print extra sometimes. Because like I said, I know they'll order more. And so when I printed it, the layout also, it gave me the advantage with my 24-inch wide printer to do two of them side by side each time. So instead of ending on an odd number, I just printed an extra one on the other one. We printed some more just for some other stuff. And then I was like, let me print some extra just in case they order more. And a lot of times it does help because they will buy more if they have the opportunity. Or what will happen is they'll come back maybe a few days later and be like, hey, can I get another shirt, one or two more? If you screen printing it and you already cleaned the screen, now you're stuck. Pretty much telling them, hey, you're going to have to pay setup fees and all that. If you have it like that, literally all I did was have to grab the shirt, press it, and good to go, and was able to make that extra money. So like I said, the advantage of doing it that way is you have some of them. I wouldn't go crazy a lot of times, like because some customers might never come back. But if it's a customer you know is going to come back, or if you've done other printing for them and you know they're going to reorder, that's the best way to do that because now you've got them sitting there. So let's say they come next Tuesday, you can have them knocked out by Thursday and have their order that quick. If you have the shirt on hand, or you can even have it that day for them if you didn't have nothing else going on. So it's little things like that. Impossible is a great idea what you want, like doing the flea market thing and selling, because that's the best way to do it. You take the transfers with you, you're good to go. Yeah, you have a few extra, depending the location and all that stuff. Sometimes, like I used to set up at the flea market, and we actually took a DTG machine I made. We would actually take it to the flea market, and the flea market was only open on the weekends, and we had the booth we'd have to pay a month in front. And you could leave stuff in there. They locked it up. The downside with that, if you didn't take that printer back with you, you get the head clogs. So literally, we had a little pull behind trailer, and we'd bring it inside when we were done, and then we'd pull back behind our door entrance and literally just have the trailer back there and run an extension cord out. If it was cold or hot, we'd bring it inside, but literally that's what we did back in the day. We had a DTG at the flea market and printed right on demand just because it's the best thing to do. See, the other thing impossible where you do craft shows, the other nice thing about it is you can, where you do other stuff too. So you can market tumblers alongside your DTG. Some of the other many features that I'd always suggest too is something like, which these were cut out. You can buy blanks. I got a link in my description down below. It's my affiliate link to Amazon. If you want to order, honestly, it's the cheapest place. Like, I've cut these out and sold them, and it's cheaper for me to buy blanks than it is the time to cut them. But you can buy coaster blanks. And so, like I said, you can, and I've got a video on how to laminate them. So you can sublimate the coaster blanks at the craft show and give people custom coasters. The other thing too, if you're doing DTF, you can use images too and sell, like if you're doing farm stuff, put like a bunch of coasters with farm logos on them or farm tractors. And now you've got, or if you're in an area where cows are a big thing, put like Holsteins, Jerseys, Angus, all different ones, and just create themes. And now you've got custom coasters and just have them there ready to go. And like I said, these little sizes are super small to do. And you've seen it. That's the one I used. I've got so many bundled up in here. It's not funny. But the nice thing too is, like I said, when you're printing the transfers, like I did with the other logo where I ended up using the empty space. I sold a crap load of self-defense chains. Yeah, and I was going to say, and that's like them little self-defense chains. People buy it. And like, so what it is people see it. You got a good price. You can be at a craft show and sell something that's not even really craft related. And just what it is it draws people's attention. They're like, wow, I wanted one of them, or it's only a few bucks. And so they buy it. And like I said, this right here, literally, it's an empty space. And all I did was take the banana, throw it on top, drop my other coaster, because I can. But literally, I put the banana, and then I took the banana and pickles and dropped it right on top of that. Because you can print them on top of each other. And it holds, like I said, you can put the DTFs on a lot of different things. Like I said, boxes. So if you're at a craft show and let's say you've got a little keychain thing or whatever, like the self-defense little hand things that they always have, that's like a perfect example. If you give them like a little box or whatever, make some of them instead of like trying to screen, or you can screen print your box. I got a video on that too, how to screen print boxes and bags. But like just put your logo on it so they know how to get back in touch with you. Yeah. I'll show you real quick. Impossible. This is how you drop a transfer. But this is a sublimated transfer using a pouch that I show online. All you do is use a laminate pouch, laminate it, and sublimate it. So this one is laminated and sublimated. This is on the back of another coaster because I didn't want to go make some more, and I already had a bunch laying around here. So this is the DTF print that I showed you right there, where I had loads of these printed. That is the same print. It will line up. Let me line it up because I'm upside down. That is the same print right there. And then all I did was I took the word and put it on top also, because I cut the bottom off and then I put that on top. So because I made this is for like a left chest that I wear on the shirt here. And so I was wearing a left chest print. Well, these coasters are, if I tried centering it, it goes off. So the banana will fit and then the wording would fit. So I could have done just the wording and put the word on there. And then I could have done like the other side and just put the banana. And like I said, this is the same print. I use this size print. Like I said, these are all the same. And the difference on the DTF is, as you know, with coasters, unless you painted this white, you don't get the white in the banana, where when you use the DTF, focus, you get white ink. So now I've got the white ink. So you can layer DTF prints. Yep, you can layer them. You can even do it on a shirt. You can layer them also. You just got to press peel first. You can't leave the pouch on there, but yeah, you can layer them. And then like the other thing on a coaster, what I would probably do is spray laminate over clear coat, because if not, and I set a cup on here and there's fluid in it, it's still going to soak into the wood. So like a laminate pouch, it's going to prevent it from soaking. But what I would probably do is clear coat it after, just to make it so that it's not going through. The laminate itself, or the DTF, it's going to, like, you're not going to get fluid through it. So you're fine there, but everywhere else around here, you're going to get moisture through it. So I'd probably coat it. But you can see also there's scratches in this coaster on the back where like there's a knife that hit it. Let me get it to focus. Yeah, see these cuts? And it went over them perfectly fine. Like this top one right here. And so it will go over grooves through that. And like I said, now the only thing you'll see is, because I had extra powder on these prints, they were a little bit bigger. The powder band is. So on like the .com over here, you can see a small ring of powder. And that's the glue. But if you clear coated it, you wouldn't see it. And you don't see it unless you look close. So like I said, you can put DTFs on coasters. You can put them on cardboard boxes. You can put them on almost anything. Leather, tiles. I've put them on tiles in the videos, and you can stack them up also. So the nice thing about it, like I said, if you're doing tiles, there's ways to laser tiles. There's ways to sublimate tiles. You can buy like a 5-cent tile at Home Depot, the little square ones, 5 or 15 cents, whatever it is. Put a DTF that you're talking pennies on there, so another 15 cents. You got 30 cents in a tile, a coaster that you could sell for 15 bucks for 4 of them, or 10 bucks for 4, whatever you want to do. You'll get the money for that though, doing a bundle of tiles. And you can use them as coasters, the ceramic tiles. You put the cork on it, where I've done the cork. I don't have the cork sample here, but you can DTF on the cork. And I used to have that sitting around here, believe it. Like, you guys seen it in the other videos, but so you can put that on the cork and it works too. But normally on like a ceramic tile, or even these, what you can do is put the cork underneath so it gives a little grip, and just super glue it on there. But like I said, but you, instead of doing a supplement, because like a good example, Pinhead here. He doesn't look bad, but Pinhead's face is on a white design, how I designed it. So here now he's got wood grain for a face, which isn't bad. But if it would have been on a little bit brighter wood or darker wood, I would have got some better results. But here's another example. The press time on laminate pouches, because it's sublimation, you're going to get, like I said, the different colors. So this one wasn't as long as this one. Now in person though, you can get, and the light's not picking it up, but you get the darker look nicer than the lighter look. But if you didn't see them both, most people didn't notice a difference. But if I would have had white, it would have popped off really good. And like I said, the perfect example of the white popping is the bananas and pickles. Because like I said, these are both the same print, same size, and you can actually see the white one, how much better it looks with all the white in there. Now this don't look bad, but you actually see all the white like it's supposed to be. So you can use DTF there. You can put them on a lot of things. It's just finding way. You can put them on hats. So like if you've got a hat press or whatever, like I said, that D, I'll probably throw it on one of these hats just to do it. But you can put it on there in the center, over seams and all that. You can put it on the side. As long as you take your time, it will bite into it. It will hold and look good. So like I said, it's just, some of it's just trial and error, learning and experimenting. And like I said, the biggest thing though is getting the white down correct so it looks good, getting it powdered good so that it holds. Them are the two major things. So once you got that down, putting them on anything, Marnie, what she does is she's got a contract that she prints for a sock company, and they're not sublimating the socks. It's the sock company itself. They just put the name on the toe of the sock. So you can use them for socks too. If you're doing that, you can use them for a lot of things, which I didn't put it on the bills here, but you can literally under bills. So you could take a print and run that on the bill underneath here, where you could screen print it, but if you're only doing one hat or something basic, use just one and be done. Yeah, I have a hat press, just haven't experimented with it. Yeah, and it works on hats. So you can press it on the hat anywhere you want, and it will adhere to the hat just like a transfer. So it will look like a screen printed hat. Like the downside, like if you're using a trucker hat, it's not going to puff up. But if you're using like this is a flex fit. This is a Richardson flex fit. But if you're using something like and this is normal cat material, cotton wool. So if you're using one of them, I could put this on here. I can put it on the left side if I wanted. I can put it in the center. I can put them all over it. It will press on there. It will stick, and it will give it a nice look. And like I said, so like I've done a thing for a guy. We printed a bunch of hats, and we were using transfers on it just because it was easier to do that on the hats instead of trying to screen print them all, because the seam on hats are horrible to screen print over. So transfers tend to work better, but even then you lose some detail in the seam. With these, they tend to press right in and they tend to hold. The other thing too, if you do run into any issues on a seam, on the hat, you press it in, but you could take like an iron and press on the groove, like where this might have a deeper groove. Take an iron, when you got that transfer on there, press into that groove to make sure it pushes in there and it glue bonds, and it will ride into that groove like it was in there. So you can use the hat to do it that way. But like I said, yeah, the DTFs are unlimited how much it opens the market up for things that you can brand. A good example, I don't have them here. The video that I'll release probably this coming week or next week. Like I said, I did my nephew's birthday stuff for him. We did shirts. We did blue jean pants. My little nephew's 1 year old, so it's not like big pair of pants, but literally we did a t-shirt and pants, and we put a bunch of images on it for him. And it's happy birthday, or it's my birthday, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So it's a t-shirt and pants, and the screen print on pants is not fun, especially on blue jeans. This stuff sticks to blue jeans. It sticks to almost everything. So like there's a lot of advantages once you've got the prints dialed in. You can open up your kind of your ideas and your marketing to other stuff that you wouldn't have thought of, because like the screen print on blue jeans, it can be done. It's a pain, and it's not honestly worth it. If you're DTF it, you got a heat press. It's just like pressing anything else. So it's not that bad to press on blue jeans or anything else. So like I said, your market's opened up to even more stuff. So like I said, if you're at a flea market, have photos. The best thing that I can tell someone, take samples if you have samples and lay them out there, because even if you're, let's say, at a craft shop or a flea market, you're doing craft shows, show some of the other stuff you can do. Even if you don't have it there, give them your contact information, because people a lot of times will call you or get back with you. Like a good example, where I do the neon, literally that sign that toaster that I did, I had help on rebending the neon. That lady found me. I didn't find her. literally, she called my number from people that we've done other neons. She said, hey, can you fix this neon sign? We've got some issues. And no one else around here does it. So like I said, she found me. I didn't find her. And then she sent other people to me, because what happens is, especially in that market, there's not many out there. So when someone needs something broke, they start asking people. This lady knows a lot of people. She sent a lot of work my way without me even going looking for it, just by me fixing the one. The percentage you give me seems to be working. I'm glad it is impossible. Because the other thing too, like I said, sometimes you can go lighter on your color and then thicker on your white. But like I said, it tends to, like, the biggest thing is trial and error. You might still tweak it a little bit from what I suggested, but like I said, run it, press it, and then the other thing too is, once you got that dialed in, put it on some stuff that might be polyester to see if you're getting, because you will get dye migration with polyester stuff, but see if the ink's holding up, because the ink that I use on polyester, I don't get dye migration. But the other thing too is, depending, and I don't know his ink setting or pressure settings and all that, I normally do 320 for 15 seconds with my ink. Now, I can take this and, like, so on polyester, you're going to get off gassing. If you do polyester at 320, you're going to get dye migration on a normal screen printing without having dye blocking inks. But if you're worried about that, or if you're worried about burning the shirt, you can, with direct to film, I can take this as low as, I've gone lower. I can take it to 270, 280 and press it all day long, and it pressed the same as 320. 320 though, I just like that because I know it melted the glue really good into it. I know it bonded really good. But like in this, and in that video, like that, this tri-blend, I did this at 320 and it didn't fade, didn't do anything. In the video though, where I do the polyester shirt that I show, that video there, I did 320 on the back and I think 270 maybe on the front. And I did it to show you guys the results. And like, so if you go back and watch it, I show both sides and they both came out the same. But you can, like, if you're going with something that can't handle the heat, so let's say you're doing umbrellas, because you can print on umbrellas, DTF on umbrellas. So an umbrella, you do 320, you're going to melt it. So bring the temp down so that it will work, and work on the temps a little bit, but you can take these a lot cooler. What's up, Eddie Jr.? How's it going? But like, you can take the temp a lot cooler and it will still press. So you don't have to do the 320 per se. It just, if it's a cotton shirt or a shirt that you're fine with doing it, it works the best. But if the 320 doesn't work for that product that you're working on, take it down to a lower operating temperature and see how it goes. Because normally you can get them to stick, just depending on, you got to find the range and make sure. But a lot of these glues will work at the lower temp and they bond and bite into it good. Like I said, I haven't had many things that I haven't got them to stick on yet. I have even seen a lady do a metal tumbler and put it in a mug press. The downside with that, after washing over time, it's going to come off, because the glues are designed to soak into a fabric, not stick on a metal tumbler and handle the temps of. I mean, if you hand wash and clear coat it, it might. But she was just doing it to see if it would work, and she's even got them to stick on tumblers. So, like I said, it's pretty impressive what you can get these things to stick to. Like I said, boxes are a great idea if you don't want to screen print them, and if you're selling your product and you want them to know your name and your product stuff, put a little information thing on a DTF and slap it on a box. You can do it with a sticker too, but if you didn't have stickers, or if you're only doing a few and you do have a DTF sticker, and then you can print your stickers yourself too. But like, let's say you didn't want to use your laminator because you wanted full colors or something like that, where using the thermal imaging and all that. You wanted full color stickers. I don't know where my stack of stickers are, but anyways, if you wanted the full color stickers, you could actually just throw stickers on it. But let's say your vendor wanted a minimum of 50 or 100 stickers. You're at 50 cents a sticker or higher at that cost. Wonder if they stick on plastic planners, might melt them. That is a good question. Impossible. That's one thing I haven't tried. But if you know the melting temp of that plastic, like plastic's definitely going to soften up. But if the planter can hold, let's say, 280 or 270, it should stick to that. I don't have any plastic planters around here to try. I will look. So I don't got much plastic stuff to put it on. I will look for something plastic though, and try to do a video on that for you. But yeah, that's the biggest thing is like if you know the melting point, which I'm going to do a quick Google search, but I know it's going to vary on the plastics when I Google this. What's the melting point of plastic?
While the world's countless types of plastic have differing melting points, a wide variety of common plastics begin to melt at 100 degrees Celsius.
100 degrees Celsius is 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So depending on the plastics, you would get melting then. So it might. And then here you go, HDPE. So now you could do HDPE melts at 130 degrees. So it gets up to 260 degrees Fahrenheit. So you could be really close in that range on a HDPE. Which I believe that's high density polyurethane. So you might be able to get lucky, just depends on what it's made out of. And then remember, that's the melting point. So it's going to start softening up, but you're only doing it for 15 seconds. That's the big thing you got to remember. You're not pressing it for like 3 minutes. So for 15 seconds, I'd be willing to bet that it would hold up. And I will try to find something around here that I can press that I've got flat plastic that I could throw it on, because I'm pretty sure that it would actually. I'm not going to bet the farm on it, but I'm willing to bet it would probably work. I just don't see anything flat plastic around here. But I will look to try to find some. Here's what I'll do. And look, I found the cork border after flipping it. So here's the cork. This is printed on cork. Yeah, the clay pots, you would have to adjust the temp. Because clay's going to soak up the heat. So you're going to have to make sure it gets the material hot enough. But a good example is I got this lid. So what I'll do is actually try to throw one on that lid probably tonight. And I don't know when I'll air the video, but I'll do a video even if it fails, just to see what it does. And I'll probably try it both ways. I'll do the low temp, like the 270. And then if it works at that temp, I'll take it up to the higher temp, because like I said, you're doing 15 seconds. So it will be a learning experience, and I don't mind scrapping some plastic. I'll put a cover sheet, so if it does melt, I won't ruin too much. But I will do the test on that for you, impossible, and kind of let you know. But the biggest thing is something like a clay pot is getting it underneath there, because you got to get the temp and you got to get the pressure on it. So like if you found a way to do it, because it's kind of like the tiles. When I've done the tile, now on the heat press, you got to worry about burning the tile. But or not burning it, but breaking it, because the pressure of the press, if it's not flat, you're going to crack it. And in the video, I cracked it on that one, but I've done loads of tiles and didn't crack them. Do you know what printer is good to convert to DTF? Oscar asked. Use my heat press or my hat press. Yeah, that would. Hey, Martin Jones, how's it going? That would actually work impossible. As long as the curve radius is the same as the upper radius. Because on hat presses, they've got different arcs. So if the arc is smaller than the diameter of the object, it wouldn't work. And a good example is like this headphone here. So now, as long as my hand fits in here, that would work. But if my hand was bigger than that arc, it's not gonna make contact in there. So as long as the radius of the hat press is smaller than the circumference of the object you're doing, it would work perfectly fine. A good printer to convert, Oscar, 1430s work, 15,000s work. The biggest thing is that you're gonna find with any converted printer over time is the print head running too much ink through them over. Sorry about that, guys. The internet got dropped or whatever. You frozen time, yeah. Hopefully it's fixed. Sorry about that so much, guys. Let me catch the questions. Did you freeze? Yeah, I was practicing my slow motion freezes. DTF seems flexible. Yeah, Eddie, it is. This thing has been stretched a million gazillion times. DTF seems flexible with what you can press on it. Yeah, it's super flexible on the objects. Hey Jimmy, good night. Thanks for stopping in, Jimmy. Like the material, which itself is stretchable. I mean, this stuff is, and the reason I'm able to do this is a polyester material, so it's super stretchy. Where you can see, of course, everything has angles that it can stretch at. But this shirt thing here, this was a test from. I have had this thing for Waldo's underwear. Yeah, this is my G string. It's my sumo loincloth. This thing has been stretched. I've had this over 2 years. This thing has been stretched a million gazillion times. If you guys all remember that. So this thing has been everywhere and has been stretched every which way, and it still stretches, it still holds up. So yeah, it works great. Tucson airbrush. How's your DTF printer working? Are you recommending it? Yeah, I like mine, Tucson airbrush. I wouldn't recommend it as a first printer. And the reason why is, and I might recommend it as a first printer if you've got experience, like for instance, converting other printers. The reason I say that is I'm not converted. Like the one I got is made for the DTF from overseas, but like when you get them from China, you have to put the print heads in. They send you the print heads separate. So you have to put print heads in. You have to align the print heads. And I've got 2 print heads in it. And so there's a lot of work on that side of it. Like a good example, when you go buy a printer at Staples, you open it, put it in the box, you hit the print test, you pick A, B, C, whatever, how you do the little thing, which one looks best. You click that number on your screen, and literally after that, you're good to print. They got one single print head in a desktop printer. So it's very simple to do. The downside about the big ones, you've got 2 print heads, you've got unidirectional and bidirectional printing, and you have to line up everything pretty much yourself. Like my Chinese rep is a great guy, Jeff Yee. He's in my one video. A great guy, great printer. The downside about him too is with shipping costs and all that, you're going to be in it. They're not cheap, so you're going to be in it. Let's say anywhere between $5,000 and $15,000 to buy a printer from overseas and have it shipped to you. And then you've got supplies and all that also. So unless you've got, let's say, 10 to 15 grand that you're wanting to put on a first printer, I probably wouldn't go that route. If you've been printing with it and you've got the orders or you're doing other stuff, yeah, it's worth it. But if you're just wanting to get into the DTF and you're not, because the other thing too, you've got to use the printers every day. So if you're just getting into it, get like a 1430, convert it. Get a 15,000 and convert it. There's a lot of good printers out there that you could convert, or get one that someone has converted, and I would do it that route. And a good example, Impossible's got some videos on it, on his conversion where he converted the one. And so if you're converting one, you're going to have to take the roller out and all that, the pinch roller. There are things you will remove that when you buy, like for instance, I didn't have to remove any pinch rollers. It came ready to go. I just had to put everything else on. And like he said, he liked the 1430. 1430s are very robust printers. The downside, they discontinued that model. So you're going to have to find a used one. But they're really good starting out printers. Waldo needs to teach us the path to millionaires. Thanks, Eddie. Yeah, I have a video on that also, Eddie. But the setups, like I said, and then the other thing too, but don't leave it plugged in case it will do the updates. Yeah, now there are ways impossible to do the shutoffs on the updates where you automatically don't let it update. Because the downside, though, you would still want the printer to circulate the ink and keep kind of the print head wet. And there are softwares where you can actually get a 1430 to do print head cleanings like daily and all that without going over there doing it. There is software out there to do that. The nice thing about a large format printer is I've got auto ink agitation. So my white ink is agitated with the prop. It is also circulating it through the print head. So it's doing that for me. And then periodically it does a head cleaning. I don't have to go tell it to. It does it by itself. A desktop one, generally, you do have to push the buttons and tell it to do that. There is programs you can get to do that, but they don't have auto ink agitating, so you're going to have to take the cartridges out, shake them up. So that's another. Jose Lopez, how's it going? Yeah, you can shut the motor 3 and then update, shut off. Yeah. And so, like I said, there are things that, like, so I would always leave a printer on, but there are ways to shut it off so it doesn't do the updates. But like I said, they all got pluses and minuses. The minus is it wasn't fun dropping. Like when I got that, it was, and I got the shaker with it also. So my price wasn't just the printer. I got the shaker, automatic powder and dryer on it, take up reel and all that stuff. I was in about 15,000. So that's not fun dropping 15 grand. You're also waiting, nowadays you're waiting 2 to 3 months. I waited about a month and a half to get it here from overseas. So you've got the whole waiting time. And you shelled out the money. So you're not seeing profit off that money at all until you get it in. You got to set it up. You got to do online meetings with them because they've got to run through the program, and they give you training, but they're only there at their hours. So their hours aren't the same as our hours. So if you're a night owl, it's great because they're there at night. And I've showed you guys before, my guy, if I try to get a hold of him, more than likely he will answer through a message. And then if I live chatted, it might be a little bit harder sometimes because he's not in front of a computer. But normally I've been able, my rep, superb. Best hands down rep for a printer I've ever had. I can mention, like, and I've showed you guys before, it's like, well, it's about 3-4 in the morning over there right now. And a lot of times he'll answer. So he's very helpful when I need it. So it does work good on that part. It is setting under my desk right now. His 1430 is. I learned the hard way. What's the best 13 by 19 reliable inkjet that's not an Epson? Oh, for DT, if you're doing the DTF, on that, I don't really have an answer on that. Tucson Airbrush, because the downside is like the people like the DTF factory and all that stuff, they're using Epson print. They're just rebranding their own. So a lot of these companies that are doing, and let me do it this way. I'll show you some 13 by 19 DTF printers. So good example. Let me see if I can get more. Okay. So this company here is called Pro Color DTF. It's the one with the little panda on the head there. So it's an A3, 17-inch. And so here's the thing. It's a single sheet version, so it's not letting you do the rolls. It's using a 13 by 19 head. Let it focus. Let me get my face out of it. There you go. See, the 13 by 19 and the L1800 are the same print. They're all using the same print head. And they've got different options there. Oh, no, he does got different print head options. So like a 13 by or 1390 print head. Yeah, and then like Impossible said, the XP 15000 replaced the 1430. The 1390 print head is usually what's in a lot of your 1430s, your 1400s, your Epson. So even though this is their own brand, they're using Epson print heads. And so most of these people, and then like here, now DX5 print head's not bad, but it's still, I mean, they jack up the price even more to 3,600. But in the DX5, I want to say that's in the 15,000. Don't quote me on it. I can't remember for sure, but the difference is like, and then you're getting the L18, the L1800 print head on the other. But they're all using Epson print heads. They're just putting their own housing around it. It's a good example. Like when I bought the, and I'm going through a lot of these other ones right now. When I bought the UFO printer, if you guys remember my UV printer, they also make a direct to garment printer, and that is it's using the 1390 print heads, and that is the same price. So that direct to garment machine, shipping and all that, it's like $1,200 for the printer and everything, and or if you went with the UV one like I did. But what they're doing, they're using that same print head in that, even though it's their own system. So you're still using Epson rips, or like the rips or drivers. And then you're using aftermarket. I'm trying to go through and find some more for you. You're using aftermarket. Sorry, one second. I'm scrolling through some of these others. You're still using aftermarket rip software, like AccuRip and all that to do the ripping. But a lot of these companies out there, they're literally taking Epson printers and then just putting their own logos or stickers on it. What's he say here? The Epson 1400 replaced it. Okay, expensive print heads to replace. Yeah, and that's the thing too. The better the print head quality, because when they come out with new printers, a lot of them got the new print heads. The newer print heads end up costing more. Like the 1390 print head, if you buy it from China, it's like $100-$200 print head. I got a I-3200 print head for my machines. I got a dual ones. Them print heads, they're $1,000 to $2,000 and up, depending where you get them from. Here in the States, that's about a $2,500 to $3,000 print head. And I got two of them in there. So if I got an issue with it, I'm going to have a lot of money out of the pocket. You can get them from China cheaper, which mine came with my machine. But my upcharge to go with them print heads was, I think, $1,000 or $2,000, because I ended up paying the price for each of them. Just a regular 1390 capacity, reliable inkjet. For example, HP or Canon. I do regular heat transfers and then counter cut them on my vinyl cutter. Okay, so you're just wanting, so you're not really needing a DT, so you're not wanting to do DTF then, correct? Tucson, is that what it is? Because if that's the case, Canon's got the one that everyone switched over to that replaced for the direct to films, because everyone, or the film positives, it's a Canon. Let me get you the number for you real quick. Canon screen printing printer. It's a Pixmar, like a Pixmar IX. Let me get the Canon Pixmar 13x19. Yeah, like a lot of the Canon Pixmars will work if you're going to do the print cut, literally, and you want a 13x19, go with like a Canon, and go with their Pixmar brand, or PIXMA, Pixmax. I'm saying it wrong. Pixma. Canon Pixma printers, they work pretty good for that. And they have like a 13x19. Yeah, that one, yeah. Yeah, like Oscar just said it. He pulled the number up. I was trying to find it. Thanks so much, Oscar, for the help. So that one right there, Tucson, is like that printer. Canon Pixma 6820. I want to say it's like less than $300. So this is on Amazon. So Amazon's gonna be a little bit higher than going to like Lowe's or whatever. But that printer's $349. 13 by 19. Every screen printer that's not using 1430s anymore, when their 1430s crash, is using that printer because it does good film positives, good dark ink, and that printer is really good price for what it is. Now on the Canon site, it's telling me it's out of stock right now. Well, no, it's in stock at this moment. On their website, well, no, it's out of stock on this one. The link that I'm at. Right now on the Canon site, though, it's $229. So Amazon is overpriced on it. But if you're going to use my link, go ahead. I won't know. Here's another one that's I found on they jacked the price up because it was a minute ago. It was lower. You're going to look anywhere between $250 and $350 for that printer. As long as they've got it in stock. And then Canon will have another one coming out soon because they have had that printer a little while. Right here, Best Buy's got it right now. And then, oh man, they've got pretty good deals. I'll show you the screen. Focus. Let me get my face out so we'll focus on that. So it's $179 for the non-wireless and $289 for the wired one. I'd go the wireless. Well, they both say wireless. Yeah, one's the IP and one is the other one. I'd go with the IP, but they both will work for you. Yeah, now the 6820 is $179 right now. The one that is replacing it on their website is the 8720, which it's just their newer model, but their IX 6820, it's $179. I have one of those. I bought mine for $120 4 years ago. Yeah, like the printer. That was my biggest thing where like Canon doesn't have it in stock right now. It was pretty much I think they discontinued it because they've created their other line of it. It's just like the 1400 replaced the, hey, how's it going, Pam? The 1400 was replaced by the 1430 and now it's replaced by the 1500 XP, I believe it is. So every company just ends up replacing theirs after a while with the newer model. So like if you even get the newer model, it's about $100 more for that same printer. They both are wonderful printers if you're going to do the contour cut and another thing, Tucson airbrush. If you can get the other one, the rip saw or they're not their rip. What am I trying to call it? Their drivers and all that work great. So either one will work. It just depends on what you can get your hands on. Yeah, I would recommend that one. Like I said, the other one that is replacing is the 8720. What's up, Rooster? How's it going? But if you can get the 6820 is the one that is even cheaper. They both are good. You're not going to be disappointed with either one of them Canons. I do have an HP latex printer. I use my majority of my printers have Epson print heads in them. So I've got a 1400, 1430. I think 2 or 3 1430s around here. Just because and then I've got the 15,000 that I use for sublimation. I've got two large format sublimation Epsons. My direct to film has Epson print head, so it's technically an Epson. My latex printer is a HP. My Mamaki uses Epson print heads. And then I've got the Canon. And what's the other printer? I can't think. I've got some of everything. It just depends on which one's doing what, more or less, because they all like the difference too is like different inks and medias are going to respond differently. Like if you need sublimation, the downside, you can use some Canons and HPs, but a lot of them, they heat the head up, so the ink will more or less cook in the print head and cause issues. There are some that you can use, some that you can't use. So depending, like I said, on that point, most people go with Epsons on the sublimation conversions. You can use other ones. It just depends, and you gotta kind of check and look around. Oh yeah, then I got my my Ricoh laser printers. I got a Canon laser printer. My Ricoh laser printer I use to do the hybrid technology of transfers, because that's a 13 or almost 13 by 19 sheet, and that thing prints 60 sheets a minute. All right, I'm gonna head out. Gotta clean my printer. Good luck, Impossible. I'm glad the settings work. I can't wait to see your other video on the other stuff on it, Impossible. Hopefully it continues to work at them settings, and I look forward to seeing the next video, Impossible. Thank you so much for stopping in, Impossible. Tucson Airbrush. Do you refill ink cartridges in your Epson? I had really bad luck with an Epson, with 4 Epsons that I bought over the past 15 years. Like I said, Waldo, thanks a million. Yeah, no problem, Impossible. I'm here to help. On my, hey, how's it going, Anthony? Off topic. What's up, Waldo? I got burned by wand transfers over 2 weeks. What you think? I'll reach out to them, Anthony, and try to see if they can help you out. What happened? Have they shipped it? Have they not shipped it? Are they not? What's wrong with the problem with it? I have Waldo 24 direct to, so I think I could some upgrade kind of old. Back to your question, Tucson. My sublimation printers, I'm using, it's the refillable ones. It's that new Eco Tank. So yeah, I'm refilling them. The system's designed for it. I've had one supplement. That's why I have a few 1430s. I had one I converted with CISS constant ink system, where you put it in the side in that bucket. If you set it up too high, you get too much pressure and it will blow past the head. Too low and it won't suck the ink up. I had issues with that. It destroyed that 1430 and I didn't use it long. So on the ones I use just the cartridges itself that go in there. I don't use the continuous ink system on the 1430, but the 1430 that I use for my transfers, I converted it to black ink only. Like I was using normal cartridges, putting them in left and right every day. So I was using that, no problem, worked great. And then literally the downside when you're only printing black because you're doing transfer, you're doing for your screen printing, you're only using black ink. So I converted to an all black ink system so that it would be more effective. And that I just put the ink in as it goes. It's got the auto reset on it. No issues with that whatsoever. But I have had issues with sublimation printers back in the day. But on any brand, if they're not used all the time, when you're putting your own ink in, you're going to have issues, and you're going to have issues with color profiles. So hope that helps Tucson. But like in general, the other ones I buy like sublimation, you got to buy your own ink. You got to refill them no matter what, unless you get some other brands, and it's not really worth it. But in general, I would say my other printers, I'm using both wet methods, put it that way. Everyone is behind. I called TKO and got them to send me a sample pack. Yeah, that's right, Rooster. I will say TKO has been backed up a bunch. They weren't expected TKO hasn't expected the orders like they were. Christian called me and told me they're running into issues keeping up with that, because what they're doing right now is they're filling everyone's order, trying to get everyone's order out on time. But what's happening is they've only got a small window to print the sample packs. So they are setting up their other print facility right as we speak. Working on that, trying to get that one going so that one is picking up some of the slack. But what's happening, they're getting a lot more orders in than what they expected. And so what it is they're fulfilling everyone's orders first instead of sending the sample packs out, just because if you're a paid customer, they want to make sure you're happy and they're getting the turn, because their time is a little bit longer than like Supercolor and all them. So where they got a 2-day processing time, where some of the other ones are 1 day, and it's actually 72 hours, so it's 3 days. So they're working on that. So the downside is they're not getting the sample packs out as quick. They've asked me to come and do a thing at their shop. I said I would. It's just a matter of me trying to find time to get down there and get it all done. I'm not sponsored by them. They do sponsor other people. I tried their stuff. They sent me the discount code because the video I did. They asked if I would push that, and then they said I could come in, because first thing I said when I talked to them is I want to come in there. I want to do a video on your product, because where everyone's like secretive of their process. And the owner himself called me direct, and he's like, come on down. I will give you access to anything you want. My door's open anytime you want to come in here. So we're going to try to do that and get that done also, so everyone can see the process, because they do every process. They do the normal transfers, the hybrid transfers, and your other purpose transfers. So they're pretty good at trying to keep up on top. The owner himself, he's been in the industry working at F&M for like 16 years before he left and started his own company. So he's been in the industry a long time, and he knows what he's doing on transfers. I have Waldo direct to film printer. Yeah, Rooster, I do his direct to films for him, so he's got that on lock. I use CISS systems on my Epson. Yeah, and like CISS works good if the machine's made for it. If not, you can run into issues trying to shake it. Everything else, they haven't shipped. I also couldn't get in touch. No return email. I will try my best, Anthony, to get in touch with them this week. Because I still got some of their emails and all that, and see what's going on, and see if they can actually answer for me. Thanks, man, for the advice. Advice is stellar. No problem, Tucson. I'm glad I can help. Anytime you got questions, catch me on my live or leave it in any of my videos. I'll answer any of my video questions, even if it's not related to that topic. Like if you just watched the newest video and you had another question on something else, I try to answer every question. And then I do loads of videos on covering all the different ones, but it's hard to always, because some of the videos are super old and people aren't going to go watch the old ones. And some of them are kind of outdated on the one I've done new printers every year on what's a new printer to get for sublimation, for instance. And the downside is every year they discontinue a model. So you're always making a new video that's covering the newer stuff, and some of the older ones are discontinued. So then the older videos aren't as valid as the newer ones, because an old video, if you watched it, you're only seeing the printer that was good back then. They might not make it. Now, if you had that printer, you can still use it. But like some of the printers, like a good example, the 1430 printers that we were talking about, they're discontinued. So if you can find a used one, it's great. If you can't find one, because the people price gouge them too on a 1430. So the downside is they're price gouging them. So the downside, you got to find an alternative printer. So that's the thing. And like, and now my old videos, one of my old videos, I was like, hey, get a 1430. That's when they were still in production. Nowadays, I wouldn't get a 1430 to do sublimation. And the reason I wouldn't is because it's hard to find. Like, if you already have one, convert it. If you don't, to buy one, people are price gouging a 1430 because they're using them for direct to film and all that. So they're marking them up higher than what they were new. So I wouldn't personally overpay for a printer for that purpose. And they don't make parts, so if they do make print heads, but if something happens, you call Epson. Epson can't really get you any stuff for it because it's out of date in their lineup. So I try to come out every year. Anthony, let me know what comes out of your purchase because he is burning you. He's burned us all. Yeah, and like I said, I'll try, Anthony, to get a hold. Let me see if I still got his thing. I'll try to go through and even send one right now. Got so many people's random contacts that. And some of them I don't know if they're even up to date anymore. I'm sending the email right now, Anthony. So did you put Anthony on your name also, Anthony? I don't need your last name. I just want to make sure I got the first name so that they can look at the records and see. Okay, I just sent an email. I don't know if he'll email me back right now or not, but I will keep an eye on it and I will try to get you updated, Anthony, on what I find out. Because, like I said, I tried to make sure that any of the people that they get it done. How many transfers did you order, Anthony? If you don't mind me asking. Rooster says, I'm battling with T-Label right now, selling a BS art bundle, and I have been blasting them every day on Instagram. I'm about to start giving their bundle away. Yeah, Rooster, now that's one thing. Like, I've bought a lot of art bundles for, like, one of my websites where we literally were just buying the shirt designs and then printing them. I ordered 2 sheets. Hey, do me a favor, Anthony. Sorry, I mistyped my own thing. I haven't used this keyboard in a while, so I'm not used to typing on this one. Let me see if it posted. Yeah, I just posted my my email, Anthony. Send me the 2 sheets that you sent them, the artwork and all that, and I will see what I can do to even maybe run them on mine and help you out that way. Because I want to make sure they get, and I'm going to keep hounding the guy, but I want to make sure people don't get left hanging if I can help in any way possible. Yeah, Rooster, I've ordered a bundles, like I said, because I was buying a bunch from these other people. And then the one guy, what I hated, I bought a lifetime membership to his thing. Of course, you can reuse them for yourself. He wouldn't let you resell them. And he would literally, he pulled the plug of people that were reselling them and put their name out there. But what they were doing too, he would post new things on like Facebook and all that and be like, hey, here's a new design I got. And then you would message him and he wouldn't even put that in the free bundle, like the lifetime bundle. He kept saying, hey, well, this is a new bundle we're doing. This is bundle series 2. And everyone that gets bundle 1, you're still getting, like, literally he would put stuff in there, but it would be like one color stuff that wasn't as cool as the stuff he kept creating. So he was kind of baiting and switching. Like he was like, here's, and like the bundle was worth it, the original bundle. And he was like, hey, it's a lifetime thing. He's like, we're going to do it for at least a year. And the artwork kept going down that he was putting in the monthly one. And then the next bundle was kind of, so he was more or less tying you into buying the new artwork instead of the old one. Waldo, did you buy moisture remover packs? Because it did work when I added them on the package, or when I added them into the package you sent me. Yeah, I do got some, Rooster. I've got, I think, about 10, 11 left. I've got more coming in. And I literally had a desiccant pack sitting out on the table. I thought I showed it earlier. But yeah, I do have some. What I have found too, Rooster, is there's a few ways that I've worked also, because what I'm finding is they are pulling moisture if I don't put them in there. And like a good example, if they're sitting a while in an open air, they are pulling more moisture into them. But like I found methods to fix them if I'm using them here myself also. I've seen the Epson 7310 are out there for 200. Any recommendations for reliability ink cartridges for 7010, 703010s? What's up, NovaWorks? How's it going? Long time no talk. I'm still on your Discord, NovaWorks. I see the post every day, though, so it's good. Is the 7310 13 inches? Yeah, it is. Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that at first. Are they using the CISS on that one? If it had the CISS, I would say that, because the CISS is pretty nice. Output type color. They're using cartridges on there instead of the CISS. So you're going to be buying ink from them. Here's their ink prices right here. The single colors are $38.95. The larger color is, or the bundle pack. Oh yeah, the bundle $78. So it's not too bad on price. Tucson. On here, they're giving pretty good review. I mean, it's 4.5 and 4.0. Okay, so what he just told me, Anthony, is well, he said he's checking right now. He said all transfers are shipping within a day or two. He says he doesn't have any backlogs. So I sent him your name. Now it's beeping on my thing saying he's checking. So as soon as I see what else he says, I will let you know just as he's saying it also. So post over there, get the. I will sometimes, Mike. I read a lot of the stuff. Some of it's like, it's just like I don't post like really what I'm working on. I don't have time to take photos, so I don't really post that. Well, the 570 Mike, he's not wanting to do sublimation, so he's just wanting to do normal printing, because he's printing on like he's using a plotter to cut it out after, so he's using it that method. So what he just told me, Anthony, he said, my name's Robert. So he says, Robert, if I missed it, I will make sure it ships out tomorrow as we are back to normal speeds. So when I hear Tucson, it makes me think of the movie Harsh Times. Good movie if you haven't seen it. I actually haven't. Well, I might have. I've been watching so many movies lately, and I keep like I'll see it and I'll forget name of movies, or especially like older ones. I'm pretty bad at remembering things lately. Eddie, how about the 3110 24-inch printer? What about it, Eddie? What are you trying to do with it? Is that 24-inch one on that Eddie? Because the 3110 that I'm pulling up, let me see now that I said that. Yeah, the 3110 that is the Eco Tank. That one's not 24 inches wide. Thinking about getting a BN20. Not in stock anywhere to print stickers. Yeah, watch the print houses, Eddie. He loves that BN20. He's done a lot of videos on it. It's a great printer for starting out stickers and all that. I mean, it's definitely not fast, and there's other ones out in the market there. But for that price range, there's nothing in that price range. And so it makes it hard to beat that BN20. US Cutter, let me see if they got the BN20 in stock. I hate to tell you, the Eddie, if you're wanting the, yes, Eddie, that was asking. If you're looking at the BN20, Eddie, US Cutter does got it in stock right now. It's 4,995 at US Cutter. I don't know where else, what other price you've seen it at. And it comes with the training course also. They've got a few different ones. Why is that? Yeah, the BN20A. Yeah, this is the BN20A. Let me see if it will focus. Let me get my face out of the image so it will focus on that. There you go. It is the BN20A. And there's the price. So yes, Cutter now has financing options. So yeah, said that on it too also, Rooster. The Epson does have the one larger printer, like if you're trying to do convert it to DTF. Eddie's still in to make but for the price of the 570, I would almost stick with that one. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, for the sublimation, like, cause see the difference between they both are pretty much similar, like the T30 3170 to 24-inch. But if you buy the 570, you're getting all the extra paper and all that with it. So it's actually, if you look at it that way, you're actually saving on it on price wise. Then if you tried to buy the paper and all that separate. I'm trying to see if Roland's got it. Roland's showing it on their website. I'm not seeing it in anything in stock though on their website for the because normally you're going to go through a distributor anyways, but looks like US Cutter's got, I mean, they do have it in stock. It looks like they keep popping up as one of my cheapest ones on here to buy from, to buy that BN20 also. Because the other companies, like the BN20A, there are other companies that's got it on here. But the other one, US Cutter, seems to be the cheapest. Martin, what's wrong with T Labs? I've never heard of them. What you sure you mean about the teammate? Yeah, cheap and in stock's the best. That's the way I normally go. Because the big thing too, like any of these printers nowadays, like that, all the companies wherever you buy it from, they're like Roland's giving a warranty on their printer, so it might be a little bit harder to get the warranty through like US Cutter for them to take care of it. But in general, you're going to deal like the first year is going to be through Roland anyways, so you're better. I mean, it's better off just whoever's got the best deal. Most of them's got MAP, minimum advertised price, so they can't go below a set price anyways. So it's kind of like the Epson sticker maker, the little roll printer. That's like a set price, so people can charge more, but they can't go below it. So in general, everyone's still going to have the same price. But US Cutter, man, I mean, I like them. They're one of the few places that I don't mind pushing, and I don't get a dime off of them. But US Cutter is a good place, especially if you're just getting started and need a plotter or anything. US Cutter does pretty good at that. They've good pricing. They got all your medias and all that stuff you want to start out. Like Fellers is good also, but most people, when you Google too, US Cutters pop up. And Fowlers, they don't have as many cutters per se. Like they've got high end stuff, but US Cutters got kind of their own brand. So Martin, they sell art bundles on Instagram. It's garbage. I've asked for a refund and they just won't respond. Eddie, aren't you in Riverside? Waldo, I've seen the print house videos. They got me into thinking about getting one. Yeah, the print house loves that thing, dude. I mean, because he's got his latex printer there, and it's you can't there's not comparing apples to apples. A latex versus a solvent printer is like apples to oranges. They both do different things. That larger printer that he's got is designed to do bigger things. For just starting, like you're going to actually get higher image quality with the solvent printer compared to that latex. Yeah, Sign Warehouse. I forgot about Sign Warehouse, Mike. The one that was near me shut down a long time ago. So now I mean, they still have it close, but it's not as close. But Sign Warehouse just always tends to be that little bit extra higher on things. But they always used to have that flat rate $10 shipping and all that stuff. So yeah, Sign Warehouse is another good one. Rooster, I'm in Detroit area in Michigan. No, you're not, Eddie. Are you? Yeah, the print house. He's covered that printer really good, and like they're not using like a post dryer and all that like you would normally. Or they do have one. It's just not the same as like a larger solvent printer, but it does the BN20 to get your foot in the door. It's a great printer. Like I said, it's because the biggest thing is like for instance, Mike's Epson and or like a Mamaki, like they're not cheap, or even latex printers. You're looking at 8, 10, 15,000 on some of these big printers. Where like a BN20 can get your foot in there. It's kind of like the 570 for solvent printing. The 570 is 2,500, and it gets you a 24-inch wide sublimation printer that you can do bigger than most any of the presses that you have. So you can do almost anything you're going to do. The same thing with the latex or the solvent printer by ROLLO, the BN20A. Get your foot in the door for right around $5,000, and it does most of the stuff you're going to need. You're not going to knock out 20,000 stickers a day with it, but it will get your foot in the door so you can start making money. And then if you make enough with it, step up to another printer if you want, but you can still knock out huge orders with it. Literally, if you guys watch, Mike can help me out with the name because he's changed the name of the videos. But whatchamacallit started out with like a small printer like that and worked his way up. And like Mike said, or whatchamacallit, Rooster said, Sign Warehouse is old school. Yeah. If you like, I grew up with Sign. That was one of the first places I'd get stuff with Sign Warehouse. They're one of the OGs in the game. And then, like Rooster said, he's got his US cutter, the MH720, one of the first cutters that's still working after 15 years. US cutter was like one of the first cheap cutters that were out there, but held up. Because that's where literally I've always told people, don't jump into the silhouette. Go to US Cutter and get a plotter there. You can get a 24-inch wide for half the price that you're going to get. And it's going to be faster than you would getting like a Cameo or a Cricut. Doesn't have all the features, but if you're just cutting stuff, man, you'll make a lot more money off of that than you would a silhouette because you're not stuck on buying the certain medias. Eddie Jr., why don't you outsource your sticker printing, doing sheet prints, and you can cut them out on your cutter with optical reader? BN20/BN20A is also 110, which matters from and that's another good thing too. So the BN20, it plugs straight into the wall, so it's not a 220. So you're not having to buy or having the power wired up for it, and not having to do a bunch of other stuff. My HP, the one I got brought home, my latex, it's still sitting here because it needs two 220s. And I just hadn't felt like wiring it up yet. So that's the downside about some of the other ones. They require 1 to 2 220s. My first 24-inch cutter I bought from Sign Warehouse in '99. Do you still have that one, Mike? Or did you get rid of it? Because I was gonna say I still got my first plotter or my cutter I got, and I mean it had no optical readers or anything. That's that 48-inch one that you guys seen in that video a few years back. That thing is 15 years old, which Mike had a plotter back even older than mine, but literally that thing still cuts. I mean, I did that video. It's not the world's best, but it still does what it needs to do. Oh, there he goes. He said I sold it in 2012, still running fine. Yeah, that's the thing is like, and so if you look, that's 13 years old and it's still cut fine. I mean, these companies, they make good stuff back then and held up, and they still are fairly reliable even now. I mean, they still make good stuff. So, I mean, look at them places. If they're in your area or if you can get up to them. I mean, I used to have the Sign Warehouse near me, and like literally, man, them guys are the coolest thing. Like literally, when I first got into solvent printing, I bought a used printer, and they helped me out with everything. And then even when I was buying media, the guy's like, "Here, man, here's a roll, try it out." And like, I mean, because I was able to go in there. Now, if I called online, when you deal online, you don't get that nice features like that. But when you're, what the heck? Thought something hit my foot. But when you have the convenience to go in, you get a lot more customer service that you wouldn't get from online. And so like you got a lot more help with it and all that stuff. Just general needs that you don't get from calling online anymore. But like literally there was stuff, or I'd want to try something and they'd be like, here's a little sample of it that you could try it out to see if it was going to work, if it was going to cut and do what you need. So but I'd like to have control of the small runs that he's saying. Mike said about his 65-inch Epson Rooster. You're right. You could probably outsource stuff and cut it, or outsource about feeling. Pam says, come on, I started out with Cameo. I paid for it in my first order, but I quickly upgraded to 24-inch plotter. That was 12 years ago, and yeah, I still have my Cameo. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them, Pam. The difference is I always tell people, because Cameos, they're amazing marketing company. Their software is great for beginners. And so the thing with like a normal plotter, the software, it's a learning curve because there's not 10,000 videos, or actually 10 million videos online like there is for like Cameo or Silhouette. The thing that where they always get the people is like your media, it like that you buy like your Oracal or your heat transfer vinyl and all that, like a 15-inch wide roll, it doesn't fit. You had to trim it down. So you were stuck kind of buying the Silhouette or Cameo brand stuff at like Michael's or Hobby Lobby. And so they kind of locked everyone into that little niche market of more or less, hey, you're using our software, and you could cut it down yourself. Like you could buy a roll of vinyl and trim it and just cut it. But a lot of people didn't know where to buy vinyl. So like they were kind of stuck into that little niche. And then the price of it, I will say this, they had optical readers on the Cameos and Silhouette, so you could do contour cutting. A contour cutting on a US cutter. Let me check. And this will be a good question, because I think you're going to be about maybe the same price. You might actually be more actually on it. Let me just go to their thing and banner signs, sublimation printers, equipment. Vinyl cutters. It's going to take me a while to find, but that's that. Okay. So that's the thing with, it doesn't tell me right off the bat which one's got. And the US, the SC might have it. And again, it might not, but you could, well, there's a laser pointer, so you can get in right around 700 per se with a 24-inch. So I mean, you can, and like, but if you didn't need the contour cut, like if you're just cutting vinyl stickers or vinyl for shirts, where you don't need contour cutting, you can get into them a lot cheaper. So that's why I'm big on that. But like, and I don't knock. I like, I've got two or three or cameos here that I've picked up just to mess with. They're great printers for beginners. It's kind of like the solvent ink issue where I'm not big on whatchamacallit, where they lock you in to the inks. I'm kind of against that. But like, their software is great for people that are learning. It's a lot more user friendly than a lot of this other software. They have millions of tutorials that are out there. And like Pam said too, you can make your money back really quick with one, as long as you're just wanting to get out and do that. Not every person is like they say they're going to, and they just don't get motivated. Like a good example, I watch Pam make money on all of her equipment. Um, as long as you're motivated, you can find the jobs and you'll make your money on the stuff. You just got to get out there and put in that effort, put the footwork in. Because if you do, there's people that need stuff. Sorry about that. I hit the back button on the mouse when I was trying to scroll through these. Eddie said, I've used the Graph Tech in the past. My wife currently owns a Cameo 3. And then Custom Journey, just say, because he said it's a little over 700. So yeah, if you go with an eye on any of them where they're using contour cutting, you're at 7. So the Cameo does have that beat because you're going to be in at 7, but you could cut bigger material. The only advantage of it, though, is like, you got to remember too. So if you're going to print, you got to have print media that you could actually print onto to do the contour cut. So, so if you're doing stickers, you got to have printable sticker material that's going to let you print. You can print inkjet on there and do some laminate over it. But like Avery would make the paper and all that. So it can be done. That paper is a lot more expensive though, using Avery, the sheet paper instead of the bigger stuff. And then Tucson says, I have a Titan 324 US cutter. It works, but the software is buggy. I should have saved and bought the Roland or maybe a Graph Tech. Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Some of their software can be buggy and can be a little glitchy. My US cutter, I haven't had any issues with. And that thing's old as can be, though. But that was also running Flexi. And Flexi's worked pretty good for me. But that thing, man, held up forever. I do got a... man, I can't even think. I got a whatchamacallit Tangio cutter too now, and I haven't really messed with that much. The MH and the SC, you have to do it manually. So Yeah, and that's a good point too. Like, so the MH and the SC, if you can line them up with kind of just moving them around, because that's how that one's going to work. You're like the other ones where you got to manually do it, where they're not reading personally. It's got just a red dot, and you're confirming the registration. If you're fine with that, it will contour cut and get you fairly close. If you're trying to do something that's got to be like dead nuts, like where you can't have any, let's say, outside perimeter, then yeah, I wouldn't go that route. But if you have a little leeway, or you're fine seeing, like, because what's going to happen if it's offload, you're going to see white around it if you're doing like a stick or whatever. But if you put enough white around it anyways, it's fine. It's not going to matter. Nova said, I'll stick with my Graph Tech. Rooster said, what did Waldo say? He's kind of against anything that costs money. No, I mean, like, I spent a bunch of money on, like, I don't mind spending it per se, but like a good example, like my man, I can't even think what brand it is. Tangeo cutting.
Here is some information about it.
One second. My mind is drawing a blank. Wow. I can go out there. I've got it sitting out there. And then I've learned printing when I develop negatives by hand. I prefer to learn manually. Skill of real hard backgrounds. Waldo, they sell a pointer for a red cell that you can modify to put under a US cutter. I have one. Yeah, and that's what I was going to say too, Rooster. They do have some of that where it's just using the red dot. And if you get it close, and honestly, it's you can be fairly close with it. The difference too, though, is like a high end, for instance, like a Graph Tech. They're running servos instead of steppers. It's just going to be a more accurate plot around it, and it's going to have feedback, so it's not going to lose its position. But in general, most people, like a good example of Roland, I would not use, and I've had Rolands, I would not do a print and cut on a Roland. I would have my register marks kind of like the print house was saying. He's about 2 foot is the most he's doing, and then he's having it contour cut. I would not trust it to run a 6 foot sticker contour cut without it losing some position. Now, and it's got servos, so it's not that's not the issue. It's just the rolling on a big thing. It seems like it kind of like the paper, the feeders, and all that. It shifts it where it can't see that, and so it kind of loses that position. If I was running 6 foot and trying to contour cut it all, so I would do sections of it, and it'd be perfectly fine. But it would lose positionings on long runs. So like my Graph Techs I've had held up a little bit better. My other ones ran great. Pam, it's nice to hear. I haven't used their Cricut, but I have used GS CO2 laser, and the software for Corel works great. Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say too. Like when you get even lasers, that's a good example. Like I've had high dollar lasers, and I've had desktop $500 lasers, $300 lasers, and depending what you're doing, them cheaper lasers can do the same thing as a high dollar laser. Mike bought a Omnitech the other day. That Omnitech does everything he needs. Is it going to be as fast as an Epilogue? No, but if you're not doing some of the features, they both are the same speed. Like where the laser is going to get it quicker is the left to right movement, where it can move quicker with the servos. But if you're doing contour cutting, it ain't going to matter. Cutting a piece of wood is like these are all they're cut out. You can only cut a piece of wood so fast. That comes with a laser power. So doesn't matter if I have the fastest servos, wood's only going to burn on a 60 watt is only going to burn at a set speed, let's say. So if we're both 60 watts, they're both going to do the same. Oh, no. But the small sheets, yeah, different, definitely. Yeah. Got to run. Good to have you, Mike. Great to see you tonight. That's true. The media will drift a bit on longer runs. Yeah, and that's what I was saying. Custom journey is then like so the fix that problem, you just run. You just don't do as long as runs, and that's what the print house did in his videos. He was showing that he's like, hey, just run. There's no need, like the sticker was only like this size. There's no need to do 20 rows when you can do 2 rows cut, 2 rows cut. Just so in case it messed up, you didn't lose a bunch. So that's the major thing is like, just, you don't need to go that big. Is there advantage? Like, do you need it on some things? Yeah. And that's where, like, if you're doing something where you do need that accuracy, you end up paying for it so that you know it's not going to mess up. But in general, most of the stuff will work. Like I said, it's on the lasers. I've got high dollar lasers, the cheap lasers, and they all will do, like I said, they all will cut. If I'm just doing cutting, there's no need to run my super high end one to do a cut. That they both will do the same. So when people ask, should I buy the high end laser, I'm going to ask you, what are you working on later? If you're doing photos the whole time, yeah, you're going to want to do that. But if you're going to do that, I wouldn't even go with the stepper or a gantry system. I would go with a galvo system, similar to how fiber lasers are ran. But they also have CO2 ones that will put images on there. And the reason that they move even quicker. So it's always knowing what you're going to work on or what you're working with to know what the right objects to buy. There's an old saying, both sell, which means cheap stuff ends up being expensive. And that's true to some, but like some things, like a good example, these like cheap lasers that are out there, the difference is the enclosed tube versus the exposed tube. But for a good example, what most people are doing, that cheap laser is going to do the job. It's going to do it great. They don't need, like, the other features that you have on the high end lasers are, some of it's overkill. Like I said, I've got $20,000 lasers that are amazing, but the other one, like if I'm just, let's say I bought it to cut wood, things like this, I can do that with the $500 laser as long as I'm doing the same power output. Because the thing too is the tube life isn't going to last as long. But if I'm doing something where like a glass tube laser compared to a RF laser enclosed, it's a fraction of the price to replace that tube. The RF one, you can have it refilled, but it's definitely not for what most people do. There's no need to have that unless you're doing like trophies, awards, where it justifies the means. Rooster, I have a laser. They're not for printers, but for some figures of how to multiply fit on the cutter. Pam says I use Corel plugins also. I like saying good isn't cheap and cheap work isn't good. Yeah, and that's a good thing too, Rooster. That's what a lot of it. Experience is a great teacher. That's a great saying too. Rooster, I still have my Freddy coasters. Thanks a million. Well, yeah, I forgot about them, Rooster. Rooster's got some of my, which he's got some of these. He's got a whole set actually because he just liked Freddy, so we printed the Freddy ones for him. But yeah, Rooster's got some of my other one, 2-cent airbrush. I have 20 years in the business. I'm Rooster. Yeah, and that's the thing too, Tucson, is like some things, like I said, like on the sticker thing, there's no need. And like Roland has fixed some of the issues. I've had that way back in the day. But like if you're not cutting, let's say 6-foot stickers, like human cutouts, like the big old wall stickers back in the day that you could buy, if you weren't cutting them, that smaller Roland would work perfect. If you were cutting them all day, I would suggest a different cutter. It's kind of like, what is my other cutter? I have a very high-end cutter sitting out there, and I can't even think of the name. It's got Tangio cutting. Yeah, no, I didn't forget AC. I just forgot about, my memory's not the greatest lately. I forgot. I mean, I remember printing them, but I forgot. Like, I really forgot about when I sent them. I mean, it's been, what's that? It's been a year or two ago. It's been more than that, because probably 2 years ago that I sent them, wasn't it? Suma, thank you, Martin, so much. Man, my memory's horrible. Yeah, I've got that Suma, and I bought it used, so I didn't pay brand new price. Is it? It does. I've done cutting on it. It's great. There's a lot of nice features on it. I wouldn't suggest anyone buying a Suma for a first plotter. The reason being is the price. Does it hold great registration out through the whole thing? Yes. Are there advantages of the Tangio cutting? Yes. Is it worth it if you're just starting out and you're only going to cut, let's say, vinyl out for shirts? No, it's not worth it. It is fast, but like it's one of them things. It's kind of, if I live in a speed limit and I'm not going to speed, is and my top speed is 25 miles an hour in my, let's say, my subdivision, is there a reason for me to buy a Bugatti? No. I mean, granted, I can get up to 25 really quick, but if I have a speed limit and that's all I'm sticking with, there's no need for the other bells and whistles. It looks cool though. Like I said, and that's like when we were all talking about plotters earlier, like how old like the US cutter one was that everyone's had, or Mike's sign warehouse cutter. Them plotters have lasted a long, because they're just basic simple cutters, so they do the work. I've had issues though, like on my that 48-inch wide one I had, when I was cutting big things with it, like if I was cutting, let's say 6-foot tall or 5-foot tall things, it would lose the feeding. The traction just wasn't that great on it. But for 99% of the stuff I did, that cutter worked great. So it's kind of one of them things. Yeah, Martin says I have one. Yeah, and like I said, Sumas are nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm not like, look, if you're in the business and you have a need for it, yeah, it's a great one. I've had a Graph Tech before I went to the Suma. I still have my Graph Tech. I still use a Graph Tech. And I got the Suma when I got the HP printer. It was kind of a bundle. So and I've used it. There's nice things with it. Their interface, if you're not using like Flexi or anything, their software that they have is outdated and very old school. But most people are using integrated software like Flexi and all that when they're using it. So if you're using that, yeah, it's amazing. I used to have a Tangio 48. Now I have the 30-inch drag knife. Which one do you like better, Martin? Do you have a preference over them? Do you notice the corners kind of on the corner? Are you like, if you're doing a contour cut on a sticker, are you noticing more, for instance, tear out with the drag over the tangential cutting, or is it something that to you, in your opinion, that you don't see that much difference? Because I mean, I could see a difference in the cut, but that also comes too, if you've got dull blades, nothing's cutting good. But like, I can see on some of the stuff, I do get a better result, but it's not like like I would be happy with my Graph Tech, put it that way. it does have the better features the Suma does, but it's not 100. Like, it's not like I'd be like, oh, you got to go to the Suma over the Graphtec. Is my kind of thought on it, anyways. Been a while, and yeah, I can say I'm big loyalty. Speaking of speeding, I got a ticket yesterday, 67 and a 45. See, if you had the Volkswagen Pinto AC, you couldn't have gone 45. No. I used to have okay. Pam says today was World Autism Awareness Day. My day has been full of events, and my daughter. I wish I could hang out longer, but I'm exhausted. Catch you next time. Blessings. Thank you so much, Pam, and glad you had a good day. Thanks for stopping in, Pam. I'm actually getting ready to head off. I've been on 3 hours and 20 minutes, so I've been on pretty long. Thank you so much for stopping in, Pam. It's great to hear from you. Great to talk to you again. Martin, they're both awesome. The 30 was considerably cheaper. Yeah, I was going to say just the 30-inch alone, I can see the price being because cheaper in that, just a smaller. And then the other thing too with the cutter with it being a drag instead, so there's not as much parts going into it. Because that's one of the big things. Like when I got it, I mean, I was impressed with watching it cut, but it's one of the things that I've told someone. I was like, it's if I've got new blades and all that, and I've got all my settings correct on my Graphtec, like if I'm doing a punch out and all that, do I see a difference? If I look hard enough, yeah. If you're just selling the stickers and you keep the blades, most of it you're not going to know the difference. But I do. I mean, there are things I like about it. I'm like, man, I do notice things better on it, but I can't be like for a first plotter or whatever. I would never. And then even on any of them, I wouldn't suggest a Graphtec as a first one. If you're just getting in, you're not sure you're going to like the business. If you know you're going to be there a long, yeah, buy it. But if you're just starting out to drop Graphtec money or Suma money, it's a lot of money to drop on something that you might not like. It's like kind of like a kid playing baseball, go buying like 20 baseball bats and all the other stuff. You could be wasting a lot of money, and the kid he go out one day and get hit in the shoulder and be like, I'm done with baseball. Waldo, you are the only dude I know that could do a 3-hour live with 10 people participate, and that means you're all right in our book. Thanks, AC. Yeah, hey, I mean, you know how it goes, AC. Sometimes I get a bunch. I haven't been on in a while, so literally, like when I started AC earlier today, in my first hour block of my little series, literally for the first probably hour, I think I only had 2 on here. So, and so I talked to quite a bit because it was just 2 people. But yeah, I try to get it going, try to get people here, and I definitely will, AC. I'll probably, like I said, I'm gonna hop off here in a minute, probably also, and it's only 10:30 here, so I might try to catch that video and then just print that other shirt tomorrow. But yeah, like I said, and even too, like at the beginning earlier, it was literally stuff that I went over that people's asked before. It was just some people didn't know. So I mean, you know how it is. They say I don't mind. I can talk forever. What makes it nice though too, everyone keeps at least commenting. So I mean, because I've had it on that too. I only had one commenting at that time I had 2 at the beginning, and then one was only, so it was literally just me carrying on a conversation, reading off this prompter. But yeah, thanks everyone for stopping in though. I mean, and then I had the computer issues twice where I'm out in BFE, and as you know, the internet's kind of, I mean, I got my hamster over there cranking my dial up pretty good, but no, I'm on fiber optics, but for some reason they always drop my stuff out here. It doesn't stay. They're always updating things, but I thank everyone for stopping in, and I'm glad everyone did. I'm glad to see everyone again. I've been sick, been off a little while, so yeah. Thanks, Jesse. I'm getting ready to head out too. Thanks everyone for stopping in too, and actually listening to me just talk and ramble like I normally do. Like I said, I do got some other videos coming out, some boring videos, some not. Like you were asking, AC Rooster. These things are great. This little, you're not going to see it arc out because I can put it on my thumb, but you're not going to see the arc. But the little laser probe, I do got my laser toast, but and I'll be able to show you really quick on the live. But yeah, get one of these, AC, if you're going to like the shows. And so here's the big thing. This one obviously is the bad one. I'm guessing it is. One of these are good, one of these are bad. And the video's already been, like, I already repaired the video. I don't know if I posted it, but they've already got it. Yeah, and this is the other one. These things pulse. Let me turn it that way. So they don't stay on continuous. So but yeah, like I said, these are 15, 17 bucks. So if you're going anywhere, and then the nice thing too, you can check them out this way. So if you're going anywhere to buy neon, this is the simplest way to check for the neon to see if it's, because this tube's good, the other tube's bad. I ended up replacing it. I did it in the video, and then the other video, as you can see, this one's bad. What it is, I actually think, it's hard to, you're not going to see it, but there's a line underneath there, and I actually think it's just got a micro crack in it. And it just leaked out over time. But yeah, like I said, handy little thing. So if you're going anywhere, I might do some videos on neon. Every video I've posted, though, they haven't got much views. So it's something I enjoy, but we'll see how it goes. Because if people watch them, I'll gladly make them. If they don't, then not much need to make them. But I'll still probably post them anyway. You know I am. But I got, like I said, I like doing it. I've got stuff, got loads of neon stuff. Like I said, so we'll just see. I agree with the technology and software part. A lot of people trip up, and people's not great comes easy. Yeah, and Anthony, I will try to email me, Anthony, and I will send you that. He's supposed to try to get me a tracking tomorrow or whatever. I will keep you up to date on that, Anthony. Thank you so much. Like I said, if anyone has any problems with any TKO, any of them, like the other guy had issues on the TKO shipping, I literally called and did that whole video on that. Most of these people I've reached out to that if I put them in my link, I've reached out to them. So very helpful, dude. We'll check you out. Thanks a lot, Tucson Airbrush. Great having you on here. And like I said, if you got any questions ever, Tucson, just message. I do loads of things, neon, printing, custom building things. I'm an engineer. I've got patents and all that stuff. I've done a lot of things. So thank you so much for stopping in. Eddie at Waldo, thanks for going live. I missed them live. Yeah, thank you so much, Eddie, for stopping in. AC, yeah, I got to run around on my Hotronics. Someone told me a 12.3A extension cord and plugged it in. Hauled off, and you know how that works. I bought that one right. The neon guy went out of business because California's owned. Yeah, and like AC gas leaked out. Martin, just checked the drag knife is 4,600-ish for the 30, and the 10 Geo is 63 for the 30. Yeah, so I mean it's quite a bit of difference. I would probably go the drag anyways on that. I have custom made neon airbrush shirt signs. That's pretty cool, Tucson. Cheers, brother. And then AC says, Tucson, you airbrush Harley tanks? What all do you airbrush, Tucson? Like I said, this is something like I did that video. These are ones like made a toaster for a lady. Bright idea. But it's always fun messing with this, and it's weird to always think that without anything being connected, or you can turn lights on. The other crazy thing though is I'm with yes I do. That's really cool, Tucson. I'm gonna check your channel. Do you have a channel, Tucson? I'll definitely subscribe if you do. But I think it's cool just watching that stuff, seeing I've got some pretty, I wouldn't say famous friends, but because they're not famous to me, but one of my friends he airbrushes on TV a lot. He's out in Vegas, Michael Henry, but that's his real name, Michael Henry. But Horny Mike from Counting Cars, I'm sure if you ever watched the TV show or where he wears the horns, he's a Badger gave him his own airbrush gun now, but he does airbrushing. He's a good friend of mine, so I've always liked airbrushing. He was going to do some airbrushing for me on my motorcycle that's on my page here, and we never got around to getting it done, but he's always says he'll do it for me, so one of the days I might get it finished up and get it all airbrushed. Bike's together, it's just not painted or airbrushed. But I've always liked that stuff. So thanks again, everybody. Let me put my stuff up. Thanks for stopping in, everybody. Thanks for Tucson. I will have to get you after to paint it. AC says I'll be in Vegas May 26th and 28th. What are you going there for, AC? Martin Jones says good night, y'all. Those thanks everyone for stopping in. I'm going to hop off tonight. I'm going to try to be back on next Saturday again. Hopefully nothing happens. Drop some more videos this week that I've got already made up. So, and I'm going to try to do some of these other videos that people ask for. Try to get them in and release stuff in between there also. So good night, everyone. Thanks for stopping in. Please like, subscribe, follow. If you guys taking my wife there for their anniversary. Pretty cool, I see. Good night, Oscar. Good night, everyone. Like I said, guys, if you haven't given it a thumbs up, if not, don't bother me either way. But thanks again, guys, for stopping in. Thanks for watching and chatting with me. I'm Waldo 2413. I'm out, guys. Peace.